I think the character is a modern knight in armor.
The idea of landing a superhero within the consciousness of Western civilization.
A vision that came to me that there was this overlay of the American Jesus.
There's a sincere purity about his goals, and yet he promises action.
What are your prime directives? Serve the public trust. Protect the innocent. Uphold the law.
Robocop. Who is he?
What is he? Where did he come from?
We wanted to grab people by the throat.
We were so on target. The movie is so precise.
What really made it a masterpiece, I think, is Paul Verhoeven.
The Verhoeven mantra was blood. I want more fucking blood.
You know, shoot 'em up and blow it up, and bloody it up.
They were putting more squibs on my body than anyone in film history.
I always saw the gang as guys that were having fun.
Can you fly, Bobby?
I said, this guy's a real sadistic bastard, but he enjoys it.
Being part of a gang and being a badass, how many kids want to play that?
Your move, creep.
All I remember is a wall of flame coming straight at me.
We were all like, ah!
We just did some stuff that you wouldn't do as a professional actor.
I like it!
Peter Weller was very serious.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
He's one of the most disciplined people I've ever met in my life.
Murphy, it's you.
One of the greatest challenges I ever had in my entire life to make that work.
Definitely the best robot suit ever.
The chest will be the first thing to react, and then the neck, and then the head.
Robocop is an icon. People relate to it to this day.
Today's world needs a Robocop.
This is a guy who's going to show up and do the job.
A wonderful, unique hero.
That's the lightning in the bottle.
Every successive generation discovers it for themselves.
So I think there's an ongoing fascination, and that keeps him relevant.
Stay out of trouble.
Ladies and gents, it's Sunday night and we have a special treat for you tonight. J-Mac, you're looking awfully blurry and awfully old.
Really?
What's happening on your end, mate? I'm only joking. That was a joke. How's things?
Oh, not bad. Thanks for making me panic even more there. I couldn't find my hoodie. I was running about like a blue-ass fly. I was like, where's my hoodie? Where's my hoodie? I was like, I'm going to have to bite the bullet and just ask my wife.
You were watching Peter Weller getting squibbed and you were like, I've not got long left.
I didn't even see that bit. I was like, I'm still running about at that time. But I just thought I'm going to need to ask, so I had to open the living room door, and I said, is anybody? I said, did I bring my hoodie in from the car earlier? Everybody laughed, and she said, I told you. So he's going to realise that he's not got his hoodie on, then he's not going to be able to find it, and he's going to come and ask us where it is. So, and lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So there we go. So I'm about out of sorts today. I'm on holiday, so it knocks me a bit out of sorts. I don't know how. Hopefully, I sound okay.
Normally, you sound
I've got
great.
The lovely little. I've got the Shure MV7, which is just tasty, but this is obviously just using my phone's audio. In the most intelligent looking corner I could find in this house. So
you sound much better than you look, mate. And I mean that. I mean that you look like you're.
I've got a Wallace and Gromit face again tonight.
It's not the face; it's more the. It looks like you're streaming from a potato.
It looks absolutely fine on my end.
I'm glad someone can see you. I'm kidding, mate. It's not actually that bad. It's just a wee bit out of sorts. But hey, that's how we roll, man. You're on holiday. For anybody at home that doesn't know, J-Mac's on holiday, but he just didn't want to miss our special guest today, which is Gary Smart of Cult Screenings. This here t-shirt, which I absolutely bootlegged, Dark Ditties, we will be chatting about today, along with some of the reasons that the guys are really here, and that's to talk about these phenomenal, and I'm not even going to call them books because that won't do them justice. Work of art.
Even the shine off of those books is just beautiful.
No, I know. Maybe if I shine it through the lens, I might be able to see you.
Is this going to be an ongoing thing? It'd be nice if you'd mentioned this in the half-hour conversation we had before.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. So, like I says, today we're going to chat. We're going to chat to Gary Smart, who is basically one of the what's the word that you'd use when a great team of people are very artistic and work together on something that makes something really special and unique. What's one of them?
That's exactly it.
One of them. Yeah, so he's one of the puzzle pieces and the team that make
it was rubbish.
A really amazing picture. Come on, then do something better. Let's hear yours.
Puzzle piece.
Exactly. So for any of you that don't know, he basically runs Cult Screenings and Dead Mouse Productions, and they've made the documentary with Paul Davies that was on the American Werewolf in London Blu-ray disc 2. That's called Beware the Moon, which is also the same as the book, essentially. They're making a new documentary called Pennywise, the story of it, which has Tim Curry and the gang in it. I mean, we could go through pretty much everything that the guys have done, but they've done really amazing work. So we're not going to just sit and talk about it all here. We're going to bring in Gary Smart. Ladies and gents, I hope he's ready for this. Gary Smart. Ta-ta-ta.
Hello, thank you. Just a quickie. We didn't actually do Beware the Moon documentary.
Did you not? Was it just Paul?
No. Yeah, that's why it's not as good as our documentaries, because we didn't do it.
Right.
Arzabella. Sorry,
right,
Paul.
So you guys actually
an absolute flyer.
So if I'm right in thinking, then he done the documentary and together you collaborated on this.
Yeah. So he approached us to do the book a few years after doing the doc.
I see. So he approached you.
Yeah, it was kind of because we'd done a book already on Return of the Living Dead, and I think I'd already been speaking to Paul a little bit over Twitter or Facebook, something like that, and then we had a conversation about Beware the Moon, and obviously kind of asked us were we interested, and then we kind of moved forward on there. It kind of was quite a fast process.
Right,
about 5 years ago, something I think it was 3-4 years. Yeah,
I see. Well, with Paul Davies is quite well known now in the Lost Boys, what we call it, fandom,
yeah.
Fandom, right? So he's what you call now the heavy hitter, and he kind of, when you do look at him and his body work, Cult Screenings goes hand in hand. So you guys just work with him on different projects, or is he part of that actual team?
No. So basically, we did the first book with Paul, Beware the Moon, and then obviously we wanted to do another book with him, and that was Lost in the Shadows, a Lost Boys book. So yeah, we worked with him twice on books. We hopefully want to work with him again, but obviously then we do our other stuff as well. So we kind of bought for the first time actually we bought a writer in, because obviously we did our Return of the Living Dead was done by us, and Fright Night was done by us. The book, the Hellraiser book was done by us as well. We brought Paul in as a kind of guest writer, if you want to call it, but he worked out really well for us again with Paul.
The Return of the Living Dead happens to be one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasures. I absolutely love it, and I've not seen the documentary you guys done yet, and the book. That is a book as well, isn't it?
There's 2 books. Yeah, there's the complete history of Return of the Living Dead, which myself and Christian Sellers did in 2010, and then there's the 245 Trioxin. The history, I can't what it's called now, the Return of the Living Dead story, whatever it's called, and that was done about 5 years ago, I think it was, for Cult Screenings. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I mean, I take it you're a big fan of that movie yourself.
Oh yeah, I huge fan. I was really close friends with Don Kaufer, who played Ernie Kaltenbrunner.
Nice.
Very close to Don, and obviously close to Beverly as well, who plays Tina. And we did obviously the book. We've also done a graphic novel as well, which was called Revenge of the Living Dead, which was the Don Kaufer's unofficial sequel. So that came out. That came out during lockdown, the first lockdown. How many lockdowns we had? About 10 now. So the first lockdown back in March last year, that came out then, just as lockdown hit.
I need to. Yeah. I'm gonna try and search them.
Well, that's sold out, but I'll send you a copy.
Oh no way, mate! Hey, he's good on his word.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Can't thank you enough for that. J-Max is still here because we've not essentially seen each other. We are going to chat a bit more about Return of the Living Dead because it's a conversation we've not had yet. Because as we've kind of looked, like, because I first initially thought Cult Screenings was just like a publisher. Because at first I heard of it was essentially through Paul Davies stuff, but then when I spoke to you after that episode, and I've kind of went on a bit of a binge. I've watched like the Dark Ditties. I watched the Fright Night documentary as well. I'm at the point now where there's still more for me to binge, but I just kind of need to piece it all together. And I just kind of was like, well, wait a minute. You kind of remind us of us. Like, we're a podcast at the heart of what we do, but yet we've got our fingers in so many different pies, so to speak. And that's kind of what you guys do, if I'm right, because you are publishing these books, you're making TV series, you make documentaries. I mean, there's pretty much, I take it you guys are just led on what you're passionate about. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing we started doing was screenings in Birmingham. So we did film screenings like yourself. That's where Cult Screenings came from.
Right.
And then we kind of like, did documentaries on Hellraiser and moved on. And then we did obviously the Ditties, and we've done some other narrative stuff and the book. So and we've done an action figure as well. We released an action figure of Peter Vincent a couple of years ago. So we've kind of been dipping our toes in lots of things really. It's what we love. I'm a big film fan, a big kind of collector of, as you can see, of crap. So it's a passion project really, and we kind of enjoy what we do.
I think that's what sets people apart, and that's one of the things that people can see clearly in these books is the passion and the love that goes into it. I think that's the true, like, because when I first started looking at Lost in the Shadows, and I was reading it the other day, yesterday actually. I was reading the first part where Paul talks about why he chose to do that. And just after reading that, I was like, I need to turn the movie on. And I watched it yesterday in full. I was like, I think that there is what's most important about these. But
that's the intention. What we've tried to do from day one. So when we first started doing our first projects, and you get worried about copyright and stuff like that, or it's what we're doing. We're promoting the work of of obviously people we admire really. So when we did Return of the Living Dead, the first book on Return of the Living Dead, it's because we loved that film, and nobody else really promoted that film in any way. It was always Romero and Night of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead and Dawn. No one did Return of the Living Dead. So we hope people watch our stuff and go, you know what, I want to watch the film, and they go back and revisit that movie. Then I think a lot of people do that when they read the books and watch the docs.
Absolutely, I think people go through these little binges. It's like you'll watch the first one of a movie, and then you'll end up watching all the sequels and that. And I think a book like this is definitely the one you need for when you're on the Lost Boys one. I can't say that you would really go through a Lost Boys binge, because I know that majority of people don't like the sequels. Me, I'm more forgiving. J-Max more of the hardcore, like, no, they can't do that. I'm really forgiving when it comes to sequels.
It's same as me with Return of the Living Dead. I like 2 and 3, but 4 and 5 are, I kind of, the fans hate him, but my thought process on them films is the fact that somebody could be bothered to do them in the first place. No, it's about rights. Look at the Hellraiser franchises, 11 of them, but at least the mythology is kept alive, and at least the films are kept out there and they are being made, even though it's political sometimes why they're being made. But at least they're still being made, not just shelved and left for 30 years. And no one cares about them. Somebody's trying, to make a few quid, but at least someone's trying.
And I think that's when something can really carry and transcend through generations, is when people like fathers, mothers, sisters, and essentially big brothers are always the reason. Like, how many people first saw The Lost Boys because the brother was old enough to watch it and you weren't, but you watched it anyway. That's essentially how people saw Lost Boys, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I think actually remakes help as well. People like slam the Fright Night remake, but hopefully people will watch it and then go back and watch the original. Then that's why I hope people would do. So even if it's crap,
I said that.
People go back and watch it.
By the way,
I
I actually really enjoyed the Fright Night remake, but I hadn't seen the original.
See,
I still haven't. But in all honesty, I still actually haven't seen it. No,
Get rid of him.
I've still not seen the original. Right, I'll just log off now, guys. Right,
listen, I suppose if you're probably right. If you haven't watched the original, you're not obviously then tarnished, are you? Obviously, you're not biased. Because my problem with the remake was, much as I enjoyed it, was the character of Peter Vincent, played by David Tennant. If you watch the original, Peter Vincent by Roddy McDowell is the heart of that movie. You know, it's his character who's a bit of a wimp and a bit of a fraud, and he actually does become a hero at the end. And because it's Roddy playing him as well, you kind of really like the character. As much as he's a bit of a knob really, the character, but you still like him. Whereas I just think in the remake, he's kind of Chris Angel type Las Vegas magician who's a bit cocky and got a bird, and that didn't work. And then guess what? Vampires are real because his parents were killed by vampires. The whole point originally is that Peter Vincent pretends vampires are real, and he knows that they're not. And then when he does confront one, he shits himself. That's the whole point of that film. But I can see what you're saying. If you haven't watched the original, it is a good movie.
Yeah, there's a bit like that in the days.
It's one of those. The original Fright Night is one of those posters or even VHS covers that used to scare me when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
You just see that kind of face coming over the house. You don't even know that it's a vampire film looking at that picture.
No,
it looks more like a demonic kind of. You know, that type of thing.
Like that.
That's horrendous. But
you're right. Yeah, I mean,
the RoboCop remake as well. I think the RoboCop remake, if you hadn't seen the original, is actually pretty decent. I think the problem was, I think you'll know this as well, that it was supposed to be very much like the original. It was supposed to be really kind of balls to the wall and kind of ultra violent, but it just got 12'd because it went so far over budget that they had to say, no, we need to try and get our money back on this.
I just think the biggest problem with that film was the fact that RoboCop kind of reconnects with his family a little bit, and there's a question about would he get back with his family, and he meets his kid. The whole point of the original RoboCop, he's lost everything. You know, he becomes RoboCop, and he's no longer Murphy anymore. He's lost that humanity, and he can't go back to his family. He's had to become and he kind of like, they just try and make it a bit soppy, don't they, nowadays? It's like, oh, get his family back, let's make up. He's got no legs and he's got no bits and pieces, so what's he going to do? You know what I mean? He's just the head and lungs. That's all he is in that film, and he's going to go back with his wife. I don't think so. He's got an attachment of some sort.
Okay, I retract my previous statement.
Yeah. Don't get me started on RoboCop remake.
Well, we can cover that because we've got a good bit there. There's a lot of these documentaries that you've got coming up, like Robodoc, and then the format for the show, I just wrote next to it, needs no notes. Like we can just proper, like I already know all these things we're going to kind of talk about. So you said there that you started off doing screenings. We're kind of the opposite. We started off and always have essentially been a podcast, and then we kind of shoot into doing other things. So when you started the screenings, when was the first time you were like, do you know what? Here's something I'd love to do, like the documentary or releasing the book. What was the first thing you done? And did you just kind of shoot for the best and then just, was it like the aligning of the stars? I mean, that's a lot of what that's been for us.
I mean, I'll be very quick on the story. I don't want to bore you too much, but it started off in 2008 when I met a chap called Christian Sellers who worked for a magazine in the UK called Gore Zone, which was a really good horror magazine. Then it suddenly became like a porno magazine after a couple of years. It got really weird and it kind of disappeared. But I got friendly with Christian, but at the same time, I got friendly with Don Kaufer through MySpace of all places. Don and Beverly, who Don played Ernie Kaltenbrunner in Return of the Living Dead, and Beverly played Tina. And I got friendly with them, and I arranged for Don to come over to the UK to do a convention, his first ever UK convention at the NEC, and we became really friendly, became really close. He stayed at my house. I've been to him in LA and back and forwards. Unfortunately, Don died a few years ago. But basically what happened was I did the book of Return of the Living Dead with Christian, published by a company called Plexus in 2009, 10, I think it was. We didn't make a penny off that. We were kind of shafted, to be honest, but we were green. Obviously, we got our first book published. It was official UK publisher. It sold out, but we didn't see a penny of it. And that kind of was it for a little while. And then I was invited to do a screening to be a guest actually for a Q&A at a screening in Birmingham at the Custard Factory. It's basically what it says on the tin. It's an old custard factory, which has now got a cinema. It's kind of all niche and retro stuff there, and vintage stores and whatnot. It's one of those places, but very arty. But I was invited there, and I was told by the organisers, it's a sellout, you know, and I was like, I don't want to go. It's absolutely sold out. It's Halloween night. We're going to talk about zombies, basically the zombie history, and the viewers are our guests of honor, and we're going to show Night of the Living Dead. I thought brilliant. And then the day of the event, I thought I really can't be asked to go. I just can't do that. Yeah, I wasn't as social as I am now then, and I was like, I can't be bothered. And my mate said, you've got to go. They've sold out. You know, if you don't turn up, it's going to look really bad. And so I turned up, and there was 3 people in the audience. So I was lied to, and it was just like, it was a terrible night. And having to sit through Night of the Living Dead, I don't mind Night of the Living Dead the original, but I prefer the remake from Savini's 1990 version. But anyway, I sat through that, and then I got talking to one of the organisers. I said, you know, you've got a perfect venue here. I could get you Don Cowfer to come over and do a screen of Return of the Living Dead. Let's do a double screen of Reanimate, even though Don's not in that, but it's the same kind of 1985 cult horror comedy. And they agreed to do it. And then obviously I kind of led on it to a degree, and it kind of just sold. Don came over and the event sold out. And it was an amazing event. You know, Don loved it, and we had a great Q&A and was doing autographs with people. And then that led on to a screen of Hellraiser, which is another one of my favourite films. So we did Hellraiser 1 and 2, and we invited Ken Cranham, who I've got really close to now, but at that time I didn't really know Ken very well. Ken's obviously done godless films. He's done Layer Cake. I can't think what he's done. He's done a lot of films. I mean, he's Laurence Olivier Award-winning actor, Ken Cranham. So we got him over. We got him down, and we got Simon Bamford, Nicholas Vince, and we got Jeff Portis, the guy who actually designed Pinhead. Did this screening, and after I was thinking, you know what? No one's ever done a documentary on Return of the Living Dead, on Hellraiser. Let's try and do one, but just rewind again very quickly. When we did the book on Return of the Living Dead, I was asked by the guys who did the documentary called Never Sleep Again, the Nightmare on Elm Street doc. They asked me, did I want to write their documentary called More Brains: A Return to the Living Dead? More brains. Yeah, it's exactly it. And I said yes because it was easy because we'd done the book already, so it was going to be an easy gig, and it was an easy gig, to be honest. So we wrote that, and obviously we learned how to do a narrative structure based on interviews. So when you do interviews, obviously you're documentarians yourself. You get obviously your transcribes, and then you've obviously then got to use them transcribes as a script edit. So you create a kind of like narrative script with obviously the transcribes for your kind of like baseline edit. So we knew how to do that. So we did. So basically, we said let's do Hellraiser 1 and 2 because they're both British films, filmed in the UK, British crew, mainly British crew, and we decided to do that. And we obviously already knew people, and it kind of snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and then it became this massive documentary which was 9 hours long, and we had to go to the States to film stuff. And we were like, what the hell are we doing? We've kind of created a monster here. And then that kind of like snowballed then into, we did a couple more screens with Brian Cox from the actor Brian Cox, not the scientist. And we did people were confused. People turned up for the event to watch Manhunter thinking that it was Professor Brian Cox. Why would Professor Brian Cox be at a screen of Manhunter as Hannibal Lecter? I have no idea. But people thought it was him, which is like, Brian Cox, the legend actor, there, and they didn't realise it was him. But anyway, that kind of snowballed. And we did obviously then after Hellraiser, we did Fright Night documentary, and we got really friendly with Tom Holland. And then it went on to Robocop and Pennywise and then Medici. So it kind of, and the books and then the figures and then the props. So it kind of snowballed really from there. That was a very short, long version.
I mean,
sorry.
just looking at what you guys are and what you're doing. I mean, essentially that's kind of the stuff that we've always kind of set out to do. We've got like a full production team now. Pretty much everything that you could really want, and we started to kind of play about with that now and kind of work with people that have done a lot of these different things. So for us, it's cool to see someone that's done exactly the same kind of thing as what we're essentially aspiring to do.
What was the first moment for you when you were like, oh my God, I can't believe
That was a great question.
No, let's pretend he's still here.
Let's guess what he was going to say. I think he's going to say, I can't believe how amazing you are. Well, I knew that a long time ago.
Now what I'll do is I'll connect with him telepathically. J-Mac, if you're there, tap me in the shoulder 3 times. Oh, he was saying, when was the first moment that, I mean, this is how well I know what his question is going to be, and vice versa, right? His question essentially, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong. When did you first go, wow, I can't actually believe I'm sitting here with this person and I'm doing this, that kind of thing? Because we've had a few of those moments ourselves. When was that for you, the first time?
It's really weird because we've done so much. It was the biggest one for me was probably years after, to be honest, where you kind of when we did documentary on Hellraiser, and obviously I was a massive fan of Ken Cranagh. I mean, a huge fan from a kid. I'd followed his career, and obviously when we met Ken, and he was so nice. That was an amazing experience. And we've met obviously loads of people like Paul Verhoeven. We've met others, Kurtwood Smith, Ronnie Cox. So I love Ronnie Cox, from obviously Robocop, but then obviously from Total Recall.
Yeah.
It was really Robert Englund, to be honest. It sounds daft. It was and that was years and years after, because we obviously decided we wanted to do a documentary on Robert, and Robert, he's hard to get to. He's got people around who protect him, but he kind of seemed to like us. And then the weird thing was, he phoned me out of the blue. He had my number anyway, and I got a phone call one Sunday evening. It was Robert Englund. I was like, shit, Robert Englund's on the phone. And he was just so nice on the phone. He was like, listen, I'm going to be in London in 2 weeks' time. I want you to come and meet me, and I'll take you out for a meal and we'll have a conversation. And he did. We went to like a posh hotel where the food was actually like that big. Bill of meat cost about 60 quid. He paid, which was good. And it was kind of then I sat there thinking, God, as a kid, I'd loved Don Kaufer, and that was kind of weird how I met Don. And it was weird that I'd get weekly phone calls from him, and he became literally, I can say to people, like a family member. So that relationship completely changed. So it was different when I watched Return of the Living Dead. It wasn't Don on the screen. It sounds daft, because I knew Don, the person. It was really just sitting there with Robert, really going, this is Freddy Krueger, and this is the guy I had on my wall as a kid. This is the guy when I was exchanging VHSs with in year 1 at primary school, and was allowed to watch horror films so early, and I had action figures of him, and now he's sitting in front of me just chatting with his wife like we're old friends. And that was that was when it hit me. And it sounds really daft that it took that much time, I think, because once you start a documentary, you just get kind of lost in it a little bit. And like when we did Fright Night and was over in LA, we shot like 30 interviews in 2 weeks, and Robocop we shot 60 in 3 weeks, and it was just like a conveyor belt of people coming in, and it sounds daft again. You're there to do a job, so you kind of forget, and you lose the fanboyness as well. To be honest, it sounds really weird. You kind of lose that when and I was a big fanboy before, but Robert I was still fanboying over when he came into the room, because I was like, this is Freddy Krueger. The ultimate horror icon, really. You think of Christopher Lee, you think of Vincent Price and Peter Cushing, but you've got Robert there. I think in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, he's going to be up there. He's now, but he's going to be, completely in line with those people. So that was again a weird experience. It took a long time.
Yeah,
and that wasn't. That was nothing to do with ego or anything like that, or kind of arrogance. It's just because you're doing a job basically. The stress of trying to work on a project. You have to forget about all the kind of like the fandom. You want to get this person interviewed. You only got a limited amount of time, and you want to get the questions. You want them gone because the next person's coming in. So you lose that experience really of people.
For us, so when like yourself, we grew up watching Lost Boys. Cry Little Sister's probably it was the first song on my iPod, right? So when we met with G-Tom Mac, and then we actually became, we started doing his documentary, and he was over here. We were filming. It didn't seem like I was like you say, it's at the back of your head because you've got the job comes first. But then after our 3 days of filming, we all went out to dinner, and we're sitting there, and I'm sitting there like having a pint, drinking a beer with Tom Mac, right?
Yeah. And
I'm saying to him, because he's telling me bits and bobs about the new Lost Boys TV series, which is really wrapped up, it's under wraps and stuff. And he's giving me some tidbits of info, right? And I'm like, no, I disagree with this, G. I'm like, I think Should it not be more like this? And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm sitting here drinking a pint, telling G. Tom Mac how I would love the new Lost Boys series to go. And that for me was like, it was kind of surreal. And
it's weird.
It is. It's the moments, isn't it? It's the moments that you kind of capture, and they're like little marbles that you put in your pocket. Everything else was kind of just work. But then when you go back to kind of look through all your wee marbles, it's amazing to kind of look back at them. Oh, look, there's J Mac. He's back.
Sorry. I'm in a kind of country house in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like the Wi-Fi just popped.
I just thought you're bored.
J Mac, if I'm right, if I'm correct, your question was going to be what?
How does that make you correct?
Because I already asked the question. Thinking I know how you operate.
What was the first moment you thought, oh my God, I'm actually doing this?
Yeah, that's what the question was, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm glad I got to not find out the answer. So
I'll rewatch it.
One little extra bit. I mean, I remember going to see Ken Cranham at a convention in about 2002 or 3 in Birmingham. I remember shaking because it was Ken, and I went up to get his autograph, and I was, like fanboying, and I was really and I was that sad. I even painted him a picture. I did a painting of him as Chinar, and I look back, thinking, you sad loser. And I handed it to him, and he gave me an autograph for free because of his painting. And now you'll get a phone call off Ken, just like a random phone call where he's talking nothing, just going, hello, darling, how are you? How is COVID? You're like, that's Dr. Chenard from Hellraiser calling me about bloody COVID. It's like, it's just weird. It's just a strange, again, when you start thinking about it, actually, you get them little moments, as you said, and it's kind of, and we've interviewed now probably over 250 people now from the films we love, and it's strange that you've got a connection with these people, and you become like Paul has. You become part of this kind of mythology, really. And I came really embedded in Return of the Living Dead. I did the book. I did obviously the 2 books. I did documentary. I've done screenings with the cast. I was invited to a screening in LA where we did a screening of Return of the Living Dead, and I was on the stage with the cast. And I was thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I on the stage with them? and they were like just treating me as part of the crew. It's really weird. And people were asking me questions. I was thinking, well, I was like 3 years old when that film was made, and I'm being asked questions about the making of it. It's like, hang on a minute. But it's how you're treated by the papers. But I think when you love something, and and your experience obviously on Lost Boys, and obviously doing a documentary as well, they know you love the film and you're doing it for the right reasons. So they bring you into that family. Then, if they think you're doing it to make money and doing it to make a name for yourself, I think there's a different experience there. And you do find that in interviews. Sometimes they think you're there just for the cash. And then when they realise you're not, because there's not a lot of money in it, and you love the film and you know the film inside out. I mean, we did the Police Academy doc, and I didn't have any questions. It was all in my head, and it was going, how do you not have any questions written down? Because I know the film's inside out, and I just was reading them off. And I sat there without an iPad. They kind of like warmed to me really fast then, and it was it was kind of, again, it was a strange, surreal experience being there with Captain Harris and Lieutenant Proctor. Strange, but you kind of lose them. You lose them moments. It's weird.
They really can tell.
Actually,
the actors, eh?
Yeah.
So I'd heard a previous podcast that you were doing. You were talking about that doc and the fact that Steve Guttenberg wasn't initially kind of interested in taking part, and it eventually came on board. What actually happened there?
It was a real weird situation. Steve Guttenberg one was because he straight away said no. And we thought it was about money. It was never about money. We found out subsequently what it was. He was really worried about revisiting the films because he didn't want them to lose their kind of like, how can you put it? Their other time in 1984 to 1997. And he felt that revisiting them would obviously open some things, especially with the way we are now with society being quite woke, and those films are very much carry on, touchy-feely, bums and willies, you know what I mean? And I think he was really, I think he was concerned about that. But what happened is, it was so strange. We got invited to we got in touch with Steve when we were in LA, and he invited us to this signing. He's called the Hollywood signing event. And he invited us there, and we thinking, God, we're going to get this interview, we're going to get it. And we got there, and he hugged us, and he knew us straight away, and he introduced us to cast and crew. We thought we were going to get this interview. And he still didn't want to do it. It was like, you just invited us to a signing event. You've allowed us to film you, sign autographs, but you won't do an interview. And in the end, it was basically Adam Goldberg from the Goldberg TV show that got him on board for us, because he basically, talked to Steve and said, listen, you know, I'm involved with this documentary as well, because he was executive producing it. You know, we want you on board. And then he kind of came round then, and then he really enjoyed it, and he gave a 3.5-hour interview, really. And what happened then was, we'd already done the edit. The edit's been done about a year, the edit's been done. But when Steve came on board, we had to re-edit the whole lot, because suddenly this narrative voice came in play. And even though Steve's not in 5, 6, and 7, and the TV series and the cartoon series, for the previous films, obviously, he became kind of the voice of the series, along with Paul Maslansky. So it was brilliant having him, and he was a tricky customer to get on board. But once we got him, I said he was brilliant. He's such a nice guy.
God, that's crazy.
It's same happened with Weller. Same happened with Peter Weller. We interviewed Peter Weller literally 3 months ago. That's taken 5 years, literally 5 years to get him.
Wow. It can take some time to get like we've done this podcast nearly 3 years. I've reached out to everybody that I've ever wanted on a show.
I kept on ignoring you. I mean, you've asked me 17 times, and I still was busy. When Paul and John Campio Piano are on it, I mean, you're getting desperate. And you're asking John to come on your podcast. You know what I mean? And you haven't asked me. What's going on?
We actually met John at a convention, at the Lost Boys convention, actually, where we met the Lost Boys, and he basically had a suit that looks almost like the one you've got behind you, and that attracted us to say, hey, what's this all about? And he was like, well, I was given this from a lady, etc. And then then we were like, all right, tell us that story. And then he was like, well, we're also working on a documentary about it. And what we liked about John Campopiano is he's very like us, like yourself. He likes the older style kind of horror.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
and it's a good conversation. So yeah, we had him on, and then fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, G-Tom Mac was like, hey guys, my good friend Paul's doing another rerun on the Lost in the Shadows. You guys should get him on your podcast. I was like, fucking, I already knew who he was. I was like, hook us up. and then the rest is history.
It must have been a quiet month, mustn't it, for you?
I mean, a lot of our celebrity interviews come when we travel, and that's pretty much towards the end of the year for us. When it comes to reaching out to people like Danielle Harris, who like, along with Robert Englund and all that, like for us, those are kind of like, wow, if we could get them, that'd be amazing. Because like yourself, when you're talking to someone about something that you love, that you've grown up with, and the movie franchise itself almost is like a sibling, I think that creates something special. And it's different from the, let's get Danielle Harris on because she's a name that would work and it might bring some traffic to our channel. It's not for those reasons. It's because we genuinely want to know, like, what it was like to be, for me, someone like Danielle Harris. Like, I watched the first Halloween movie I watched was like 4, because when I was a kid, my cousin had the videotape. I didn't have the original one, so 4 was what it was. So for me, Danielle Harris was Laurie Strode. She was my Laurie Strode, and she was about, when I watched it, she was the same age as me. She's older than me, but at the time I watched it, she wasn't the person on the screen. So stuff like that, for me, that's why I think some of the guests we really want to see, it happens face to face rather than, because you can't convey that in an email. Like, I'd really love to talk to you. How many people say that?
I can ask Robert for you. I can't promise anything, but I can ask him. I'll send him an email. You never know.
Just ask him to respond to 50 of ours.
Oh, you've got to get through to the right person, Robert, and the person you get through is his wife, Nancy.
Oh, no
You don't go through the management. Nancy, he's the gatekeeper of Robert, and Nancy's got to like you before she allows you to speak to Robert.
We should have Nancy on the show.
yeah. But she,
I met Robert Englund at the first convention I ever went to. It was Collector Mania. It was in Glasgow in 2000 and something, and I remember I'd paid to get an autograph, and I walked up to him and I said, "Any chance I can get a photograph with you?" I didn't know the etiquette of conventions at that point, so now you're supposed to pay for the photograph separate and stuff. And he was just like, yeah, sure. And then his handler was like, Robert, you can't do that. And he's like, fuck you, I'm taking a picture.
Yeah.
This guy.
He needs a
And
mate.
he literally he put his hands around my neck and stuck his tongue right next to me. And
That's what I like about Robert, you know, and same as Don. You know, I did some conventions with Don Kaufat, and he would talk to everybody for like 20 minutes, and you know, and there'd be queues of people. And whereas I remember behind us at one show was Henry Winkler, the Fonz. And literally, he was like, sign, go, sign, go, sign, go. And then there's Don, literally having a chat, taking photographs, talking about what he'd eaten that morning. And I think, and Robert's the same. I did a show in Germany, and I was too worried. I mean, this was just prior to doing a documentary and actually meeting Robert properly. And he was over the other side. I was trying to like get the courage up to meet him before, obviously, we engaged with him. And the queue was round like for 3 days non-stop. And it's because he was talking to every single person, giving them 5-10 minutes of his time. And that's what people like about Robert. He cares about the fans. Yeah, he's getting money, of course he is, and that's, you know, that's a big kind of thing for him. But you get your money's worth out of Robert. You really do.
That's amazing. You know, one thing that backs up that how down to earth he is. I was sitting watching Come Dine with Me with my wife. Have you seen it? He makes them cheese on toast.
Yeah.
like it or lump it.
Yeah. I remember that episode. God, that was years ago, wasn't it?
I was like, no way. Well, I don't watch it that much, but my wife was like, she knows how much I love Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street, and she's like, is that guy you like? I was like, that's that guy. And I sat watching it. I was just like, God, that's just. I think it's the movie star equivalent of a rock star, isn't it?
Oh,
like,
he is definitely
cheese and toast, and you like it or lump it. They're all making these gourmet meals, and that is like,
he lost though, didn't they?
I think the guys, just like all the kind of, and the cool thing about Robert Englund as well is he, like when you look at Jason Voorhees, you've had Kane Hodder and different people playing him. Michael Myers, you've had Nick Castle, Tommy Lee Wallace, again, Tyler Mane, different people playing him. There is one Freddy Krueger, you know.
I think that's the problem with Robert and Nightmare on Elm Street is that inevitably there'll be another remake. Of course, there's going to be, obviously, I know the other one flopped, but the problem is Robert is Freddy. Because you see Robert through the makeup, you see through his eyes, you see through every kind of movement he makes, and I think that's where it's going to be so difficult to do another Freddy film without Robert being in it. I think we just need to just suck it up and put Robert in it. And it's need to. I mean, I know he's like, you know, he's 70s now, but Freddy Krueger's, you know, that much CGI you can use now, and like animatronics, you just have him like, you know, it's meant to be a dream world anyway, isn't it supposed to be? You want Freddy, just says like Freddy, have him back. Why not have Robert back in it? And I think if you know in it, sorry, go on.
He's got such a distinctive face. Do you know?
Yeah,
like,
he has. The
features of his nose and lips, his mouth takes a certain shape when he's talking. Come to Freddy. That sort of stuff, and it only works with him. With was it Jackie Earle Haley that played him in the remake? It just didn't work.
That's Rorschach.
Yeah. I just think anybody who would have played him would have suffered the same as him. I think, you know, there's talk about Kevin Bacon wanting to play him, stuff like that, play Freddy, but when Robert's still alive, I don't see why he wouldn't use him when he's still able to do it. And I think you're right. He's Freddy Krueger, and that's the unfortunate thing. But you look at Jason, it's a mask, and people love Kane Hodder because it's a certain movement, isn't it, that he has, and a certain grace that he has. Same as Pinhead as well, really. You know, for all, you know, issues we've had in the past with Doug, he no one else can play Pinhead other than Doug, really, because there's a grace to him. And I think that's the thing, you know. You don't, if you can't have Robert, don't do it. Just don't bother. Wait till Robert's passed and then do it. And you justify doing it then if Robert can't do it physically. Do you know what I mean?
Even then, they had Peter Cushing in a recent Star Wars movie. There's no reason that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah.
So why not have Robert Englund while he's? We're all talking like he's going to die in 3 weeks. Like, if he's still able to, then why not?
That freaks me out. That totally freaks me out, man. I know that sometime in the next 10 or 20 years, a new Bruce Lee film's going to come out, and if fucking
you're right. Yeah, it's going to be. I read somewhere recently. Isn't there a film with James Dean coming out? A completely CGI James Dean or something? I was reading a few months ago. that they're resurrecting him. Yeah, it's like
they're resurrecting him. That sounds like an episode of
you're not digging him up. He had a car crashed in there. I think he's a few pieces probably.
Yeah, absolutely. You were saying there that you had you've had kind of some troubles there with the guy from Hellraiser. What have been some of your best moments and some of your not so best moments on working on any kind of these projects with the people that you idolized on the big screen?
I think the issue probably had with Doug wasn't so much Doug really. It was basically the whole kind of mythology around Clive Barker was the problem on Hellraiser because Clive was ill at the time we made the documentary. He was very ill. And Clive was surrounded by a group of kind of like people in America who were literally fleecing him. They'd gone now, they've all been sacked, so I can say it. And they were literally kind of controlling him completely in regards to what the output was and who he was allowed to be interviewed. And we've been told, we spoke to Clive's partner, Johnny, and we were told, yeah, he wants to do the interview. Can we advertise? Yeah, we can promote. We were promoting the hell out of it. And then his management people got hold of it and go, no, he's not doing it. Well, we've been told he can. No, he's not doing it. And I think what happened then is some of the cast then kind of got reluctant to be involved with us because of that, particularly with Doug, really. So Doug had already been interviewed already with us already, I think, and he said yes because I think he thought Clive was going to be involved. And I think he kind of took it. We had a weird experience with him when we had a good interview with him. And he's great in the doc. When a few years later, we were in Sheffield doing a convention. And Sheffield HorrorCon, or was it called HorrorCon? It was something like that. It's a really good show. It was one of my favourite ones. But anyway, it's in Sheffield, and he was there, and I went up to him, to say hello. It's Gary Smart, blah. And he was just really cold with me, really cold. And I said, I've got some Blu-ray DVDs of Leviathan, a documentary. If you want some for free, no thanks. I think. He was kind of like, Pete, that was selling out. And I thought, I was going to give him a box of them to put on with him, and he could have signed. It's what he was very kind of like cold towards us, really. And it was a shame, really, because we had a good experience on the day, but I think because of what happened with Clive after, he kind of maybe felt he'd been kind of maybe shafted a little bit by us, that we kind of got him on false pretenses, which we hadn't, But then, that's probably the only negativity we've only ever had, I think, on all the projects we've worked on. It's all been positive. We've had some frosty moments where we've pulled Verhoeven and went to his house, and he was very cold with us at first, and we were setting up, and he was sitting eating his cornflakes, just staring at us. And once the interview started, he was brilliant. He was gold, and he was great, and he got really engaged with us, and he signed loads of posters and DVDs and all this kind of stuff for us. We've been very, very lucky, I think, and even like the battle of trying to get Peter, for that 5-year battle of trying to get him, he was always polite and professional with us. He was always courteous towards us. He was always polite in emails to me. I was dealing directly with him, and he was always nice as pie, And we met him in Manchester, and he was great with us. And it was just obviously negotiations that we had to do with him to finally get him. So no, I think looking back, we've been very, very lucky. Again, I think I said to you before, the reason I think we've been lucky is because we've always gone into it with the love of those films. We're choosing the films that we love. We're not going, what can we make some money on? Let's do a documentary on, Fast and the Furious, because there's loads of fans for that. And I'm a particular fan of those films. But we're doing it because I love Fright Night. Chris loved Robocop. I love Return of the Living Dead. I loved Hellraiser. That's why we're doing these. I love Police Academy and it. They know you love these films, and then you start quoting stuff to them, and you start knowing what they've been in. Like I sit there, Ronnie Cox, saying all the films he's been in, really geeking out on him, but in a professional geek out. Yeah, they very appreciate, because every actor's got an ego, as we know, and you start talking about their career. So we've been lucky. Touch wood. I'll say this now. The next one we'll do will probably be killed by someone.
just when you mentioned Ronnie Cox there, like for me, Ronnie Cox has always been a bad guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Robocop was pretty much his first
bad guy.
And playing a bad guy. But for me, he always had been.
You think like Beverly Hills Cop, he was playing the good guy. He was the captain of the police.
I hadn't seen that until way after I seen Robocop.
Yeah.
So when I seen it, I was like, he's going to be a bad guy, and it just it wasn't.
It's weird, it's kind of, that was a turning point in his career, really, playing that kind of like, as you said, he was always playing the cop or the lawyer, or and he was kind of typecast a little, because after Deliverance, he was a really nice guy in Deliverance, wasn't he? That film with Burt Reynolds and Ned Beatty, and then he suddenly became exactly your favorite scene. But then he does Robocop, and then suddenly he's the bad guy forever then. But then that typecasting is not a problem, that boring you. Part of the documentary, An Icon, it's now called Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares, it's called now, the Robert Englund story. That we talk about that, we talk about he's being Freddy Krueger, a curse to Robert, he's been typecast in that character. When you look at Robert's early career, he was always playing the sidekick, the Joker, the nerd, and then suddenly he becomes this horror icon, which essentially Freddy Krueger is a child molesting killer, serial killer. But then he becomes a character and a cartoon character kind of to a degree. But that typecast Robert's career in horror. Was that a curse or a blessing? To find out the answer, watch the documentary.
Mate, I can't wait. Especially we've got a few trailers here for a lot of the documentary you've got bringing up. There's the comment section's actually going quite heavy here. J-Mac, you can read out this one here for Gary.
I'll try my best, but again, this is on my phone and my eyesight.
That's why I asked them.
I'm not doing it, man. I can't.
All right.
Hang on. It says pre-Lost in the Shadows. I saw Summer in the Lost Boys front. What? I can't do this, man. Sorry.
Yeah, she says the Lost Boys font one Saturday and freaked out. I assumed Gary was Paul. Gary sent me to Paul. We spoke every night for 6 months. So thank you, Gary.
This was the teaser. I think we did, obviously, and we just put Summer in the font of undercut screenings of Lost Boys font. Yeah, that's what it was.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Neil Morris says, your awakening moment was when you met me.
Neil is the co-writer and co-creator of Dark Ditties, but he's old.
Oh, brilliant.
We can't show him because unfortunately Neil's got a face like, we describe it as Alan Sugar's ballsack. So we can't. Neil's a cross between Sid James and Gordon Ramsay with a touch of Judge Rinder. So we can't have Neil on ever.
Class.
I need to see what this guy looks like now.
Freddie Beer says, Gary, I told Paul your books would sell in 0.2 seconds. Never underestimate the Lost Boys fandom. Absolutely not.
It worked for us.
Robert is Freddy. Absolutely agree. Deep fake tech in the future. I think that's in regards to if imagine that. Imagine they do use Robert Englund when he's gone. It's like, you had him for so long and you chose Rorschach. And that's why it flopped.
There is going to be a film made at some point that's just fully dead people. It's going to happen.
You're right.
You're going to have Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Bruce Lee, fucking Robin Williams, all in the same film for no apparent reason.
Danny Rose Blank says, good evening, guys, from all the Lost Boys and girls out here. Hey, the Lost Boys crew are officially in. And Heather Dow. Heather Dow, by the way, is our merch lady and also Jordan's twin sister, and she made Dark Ditties. I'd say go to cultscreens.co.uk to buy one, but you have to take it up with Gary. She says it must be hard not to come across just as a fan asking questions to being professional asking questions about something you're passionate about. By the way, we can kind of touch on that, J-Mac. Do you remember when you met, and Gary, you might even know this movie. So we met Caroline Munro, she's the Bond girl, right? But she was also in At the Earth's Core with Peter Cushing. And now Jordan, J-Mac, is a big fan of that, right? And had a hell of a crush on her, right? So we interviewed her, and I happened to tell her, he really fancies you and all this. And we managed
to tell her. You planned to tell her from the moment we fucking got in there. You planned on telling her that I had a crush on her. That was just that was top of your agenda. So you fancied her. I'm telling her.
But because we conducted ourselves in a professional manner and had a joke kind of way where she was very open to our we're very comfortable here. It was like that, and it was great. And then we went on to do our other things that day, but we watched as like there was a fan there, and he was like, what was he like? He pulling out stuff, and he's like, can you sign that? And he made her feel very uncomfortable by the stuff that he was saying, and you could see her body language change. There is a fine line between that, and I think as long as you kind of treat someone, I think you need to hit that sweet spot. As long as you're not treating someone like they are some sort of deity, so to speak, and that they're human. You still need to kind of keep that human aspect of you're talking to someone like you would normally.
That works with the docs. You you try and beforehand, obviously, before you ask the questions, or even when you start asking the questions, you try and ask some general questions, really, about, you tell them about, obviously, how much of a fan you are, but in a very professional way, what films you like, and start asking, and I think you need to make them feel comfortable, because once they feel comfortable, you get the gold then. What you don't want, as we talked the other day, you don't want is ask somebody a question going, so what was it like filming Return of the Dead? And they go, it was good. Do you remember that scene with Don Kiefer? Yes. You don't want that. But also what you do as well is you got to do your research as well. So when you ask a question, you'll go, during the scene with, in Return of the Living Dead, when the tar man attacks Spider, for argument's sake, Miguel Nunes mentioned this story and he said blah, 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 blah. Do you recall this story? Can you elaborate on it? And it gets a little thing in their brain then. And they start thinking, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And it becomes a conversation piece then. It's nothing worse than people go, yep. Yeah.
Honestly, you get it. You get it when you go to conventions as well. Like you'll see, for example, I don't know, like Carl Weathers is on stage and somebody goes, "What would it like working with Sylvester Stallone?" You're like, really? Come on, man! You had one opportunity to ask one question, and that's what you did.
we try and do that in the docs. Of course, you got to ask the traditional questions, but we've also got to ask the questions that. It's about the art of the character and the story, the influences that people had and what their motivations were. And I know it's a cliche, what's your motivation, but it's still, if you know a little bit about the trivia, you ask that question in a very kind of like conversational way instead of just being direct like that. I mean, how many times people heard the same question? What's it like working with Roddy McDowell on Friday night? They would have people get bored of that question, and it's all the same answer. He was great. He was a really nice man. Brilliant, but give them a story that you've read in Fangoria from 1986, and you've done your research, and give them that story and go, I've heard this happened on set, and they go, you've got to remember as well, people, for us, it's fresh because we're fans. For them, they did that film 30 years ago. They can't remember what happened on the set. Really, they can't. And most people's stories are regurgitated stories from other people on Q&As, and you see that happen quite a lot. You'll see people answering questions, and you go, I've heard that story literally word for word from somebody else, because it becomes a norm now how big conventions are.
Did you see Thomas F. Wilson's song that he wrote about the questions he gets asked about Back to the Future?
No. I did actually, a few years ago,
It's hilarious. For anybody that hasn't seen it, watch it. It's Tom F. Wilson, or Tom Wilson, Back to the Future song, and it's hilarious. What's
that the guy?
He's a nice guy.
Did he play Biff? Yeah. I've seen that video.
Make sure, Kevin, if you've not seen that, watch it. It's really funny. But it's basically that. It's just like, stop asking me the same shit over and over again. I'm so fed up of it. And asking somebody who's an actor in their own right, constantly asking them about working with other people is just insulting after a while.
It is.
Yeah. One of the actors who probably never gets asked what was it like working with other people is Robert Englund. We're going to play now the trailer for Icon, which is going to be renamed. But this, when is Icon out? Is it?
Well, we've literally finished the edit now. So, but we were supposed to be doing a final interview with Robert in July when he was in the UK. But obviously that's been cancelled. That event has now.
Right.
So we're going to have to outsource it, unfortunately, because obviously we're not going to be able to go over the States in the summer. So that should be out probably about January the latest, I'm hoping. It's a little bit far off, but I said because we've got to go through the whole kind of like legal stuff now with it. But the edit's done, and it's now called Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares: The Robert Englund Story.
I actually cannot wait, and you know what? We might even screen it through here. We've got a local cinema, and if we can do it, then there's enough fans over here up in Scotland that would definitely come and do that. So I'm going to play the trailer now.
I love movies, always. I'm a character actor. I think sometimes an actor just gets a bead on it off the script, and sometimes you can see the character in your mind's eye, and everything's okay.
I'm for hire. This gun for hire.
Horror chose me. So it was kind of unique that my biggest success has been in the horror genre.
Oh man!
Or we could choose. We've interviewed for that. We've interviewed Steve Johnson, Peter Atkins, Heather Langenkamp. We've interviewed Mick Garris. Lance Henriksen, Edward Furlong. Who else?
Mate, Edward Furlong.
Yeah, he went to his house, Edward Furlong's.
Yeah.
Who else do we? List goes on and on of people who've been involved in Icon. Kane Hodder. I think it was about 50 people involved in that project, I believe. Tony Todd, Tony Todd.
I like how you
as well.
said Kane Hodder there. Is that really just to kind of get because it's really cool to ask other horror icons about that horror, because it's one of those things. It's like you always assume that they're like because they're opposite each other, but really it's really a community.
No, it's a family. Yeah, it's a community. So we interviewed. We've interviewed. My head's going blank tonight. Bill Moseley. Sorry, Bill Moseley.
Bill Moseley.
He hasn't starred with Robert, but he's done a lot of conventions with him. But he also played a character that Robert played in 2001 Maniac sequel. So Robert played a character, Mayor Buckman, in the first one, and then Robert couldn't do the second one. So Bill played him. So we interviewed him about that, and Lynn Shay as well interviewed. But we interviewed Kane because, well, one, he's an icon himself, same as Tony Todd, but also both of them starred with Robert in Wishmaster. And also, we've got that whole kind of story now about what happened on Freddy vs. Jason, because Kane was originally supposed to be in it. And we've got the kind of, and it's a real nice little bit, actually, because you've got the side where Robert's obviously, really eager to do it. And for years and years that Kane and Robert wanted to work together. And then it all fell through. And obviously Kane was replaced. But there's a nice moment where kind of Kane says, at the end of the day, Robert had to do it because he's Freddy. I don't hold any grudges. And it's kind of, we kind of got the record set really straight finally on that kind of why they didn't, why Kane wasn't in it. So that's a nice little part of the doc, I think, where people are reflecting back on, the crap that happens in filmmaking, unfortunately.
I'm about to essentially read a book about that, and it's called Horror Icons, something like that. I'm reading one that's called Taking Shape, which is about like all the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
But here, see something like this. Could you imagine one of these, right, with yourself and Paul, that was purely about everything to do with Freddy versus Jason from the moment mate, from the moment that Freddy's hand pops up at the end of, right up till I read a couple of scripts as well, and it was kind of like which were going to be made for Freddy vs. Jason. It was weird ones, and it was like one about a cult, and it was basically this priest bought Jason back, and Freddy came back into it, and then it was a strange one. But obviously, then there's a whole kind of like alternative ending on Freddy vs. Jason where Pinhead was in it. In the original script, they were meant to be fighting in hell, and then suddenly these chains then come out of nowhere, hook both Freddy and Jason, and then Pinhead comes out and says, "Gentlemen, please, let's not do this." Yeah, and that's going to be the end of the film. It's like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you have Pinhead? Yeah. That's the horror expendable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that was, but there was, and that was obviously copyright stuff like that. Obviously, deals couldn't be been done, and then. But then there's a whole thing about Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, which was supposed to have been done. Freddy versus Jason versus Michael Myers, which was meant to be done as well. And I think the good thing about Freddy versus Jason was that world fitted quite nicely. I think it would have helped. It would have been nice to have Pinhead at the end, but I think it kind of worked really well. That film did, and it was kind of nice. It was a one-off, and it was done. And I love that film. I think it's a great film, Freddy versus Jason.
Mate, it is absolutely brilliant. I've heard people shit on it.
Yeah, it's weird, but Robert's amazing. It's Robert's last proper forte, into Freddy. He did the Goldbergs episode, but that was like a spoof, wasn't it? But it's the last time we probably will see Robert as Freddy. Fingers crossed it isn't, but yeah.
Do you know? I love even the ending. Obviously, you talk about the alternative ending, but even the ending, just with the fact that you think, "Oh, Jason's won," and then
he wins,
wink.
Yeah,
it leaves it open for more as well. And it's such a silly film, but it's such good fun, and it's the type of film that we could use more of.
It was absolutely beautiful, and I think if there was a sequel and they brought in more horror icons, mate, would that not light a flame right under that kind of genre, and we would see it return? I really think it would. I mean, can you imagine this, right? Reading a bulletin, you wake up in the morning and you go on Facebook or Twitter, and it says breaking. Just like those, breaking. Robert Englund returns to the role of Freddy to take on Jason once again, and there's more. Motherfucker! Oh man!
The problem with that now is every morning you wake up, there's a breaking news, and it's about breaking Hellraiser remake. Never happens. Breaking Hellraiser TV series never happened. And now we did it again recently. Well, we cast this woman, I don't know who she is, in the new Hellraiser film, and we're going to have a female Pinhead. Okay, no issue. Pinhead was a female in the book, basically, so it's not an issue, but it won't happen, you know. And it's just like, and that's the problem now. You get that news, and everyone will get excited about, you know, Freddy's back. It just won't. They've seen soon someone even whispers something about an idea, it's suddenly on internet now. I want to see the production stills. That's when I know it's happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to see the Michael Keaton playing Batman again. I didn't believe it until I saw that picture of him last week, and then you go, he's back as Batman. You know, back as Bruce Wayne.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, exactly. Again.
I think
again.
There's a big the whole versus thing is actually something that I think should be kind of looked into a bit more. There's all these old comics like Batman versus Predator and stuff like that. Yeah. That could be so much fun and
could be beautiful
and like made into a real movie.
Do you know what I think? I think all it needs really, right, apart from like a decent sized budget, right, and the original cast, is really the true heart of the fan service. I think that goes a long way. I just watched the Halloween Kills trailer, right, and I saw the silver shamrock masks and was like, and you know,
you know what irritating about that is, it's like they're in the other one. He walks past the last one, Halloween, the last one we did. He walks past two kids wearing the masks.
Does
he? Yes, there's a scene there. Yeah, and everyone's going mental, going, "Oh, the masks are back in it."
How did I miss that?
That's lazy.
I mean, no.
At least what they should have done, they should have the Doctor from Halloween 3 Seasons of the Witch, Tom Atkins, have him back as that character. That'd be amazing if you try and track down Michael Myers and you bring them world together then a little bit, you know. And
see simple things like that though.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. We so appreciate it. Even if you didn't like Season of the Witch, which by the way, you'll come to find us. I'm so much more forgiving with movies than J-Mac is, right? And I'll defend something. If
I loved it as a kid, though. I loved it as a kid.
Mate,
you know,
Season of the Witch isn't a terrible movie, right? I don't care who says it is. The concept is brilliant. Right, and see if it did work, where it become an anthology, and every single Halloween was something new, kind of like what Dark Ditties is, right?
Yeah.
If it had taken off, people would say it was the greatest thing they ever done. But because obviously Michael Myers, they'd kind of given you Michael Myers and taken him away too early. People wanted Michael Myers, right? And I think, see for the new Halloween, which I think is they've done unbelievable with. If they're setting that trend with horror, then absolutely. But see for them to do that, just to go, we know it exists, and we're going to give you it. Like in the very first one, you know, wasn't he her brother? Oh, that was just a rumor. Like, thank you.
My only irritation with the new one is that I think for me, loving the character of Dr. Loomis, and I'm thinking, you know, and Donald Pleasance carried those films from, forget about number 3, from 2 to 6. He carried those movies, and I think, ignoring number 2, I know it's the sister thing. I think they're shitting on Donald Pleasance's legacy a little bit. I think because you know he kept that franchise alive, and he was that kind of returning actor in it, and he did an amazing role. Now you're just ignoring that. I know it's a different. You know, you can look at your different kind of multiverses. I just think I wish they would have kind of acknowledged maybe 2 a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? And I just think. There's what I don't get. Sorry, I'm interrupting you now, but I don't get is what reason and motivation does Laurie have to want to kill Michael really in that film? Because 40 years ago he killed a best mate. Yeah, that happens. You know, you don't get someone going after Peter Sutcliffe, do you? You know, with a and setting up. You know, that doesn't happen. But the fact that if he was her sister, there's a reason. Then there's a whole reason, that connection. There's no connection to them characters really, other than. Yeah, he killed my best mate and a few other people 40 years ago. I haven't got over it. Well, I've had a kid since, you know, I had a relationship. Oh, yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like you're waiting for him to escape. No, you're not. I just think they kind of, that's the only bit I didn't like about it.
I think.
And that crappy doctor.
No, I mean, for me, he was something.
He was in EastEnders. He used to run the cafe back in '84. You know what I mean? He's now Michael Myers' doctor. Anyway.
For me, I think that they rely on us as the audience to just allow it to be the Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, because we are already aware of that chemistry. I think, and I think maybe even Michael's like, you know, this is the one that kind of got away, but then that would have to assume that he's motivated, which originally he never was. You never knew anything. He was just.
But the only reason he goes after her in that new film, she's after him with all a little sit up, thinking she's Rambo. The only reason why he goes after her is because EastEnders doctor takes him to her. That's the only reason why. He doesn't know who she is. He's not going, oh, hello. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who she is. And it's like, you know, it just doesn't make sense for me that why is she so bothered? Yeah, he killed a mate. Yeah, and you know what I mean? Get over it, darling. Get some therapy, you know what I mean?
Is the Halloween franchise, is that something that you think you'd ever?
I do love it.
I was just about to say that.
I do love Michael Myers,
that's
obviously.
amazing.
You know, and that's the new Michael Myers, so I can't slack it off too much.
That's brilliant. I love.
To answer your question, we wouldn't touch Halloween. I think it's been touched too many times before in the sense of big documentaries and whatnot, and also it's one of those franchises which is very protected. I mean, it really is protected. You know, I've heard of nightmare stories where I've got friends who kind of make, you know, pin badges of that, and they've been at conventions and wear pins and their t-shirts, and someone's come up to them with a writ going basically cease and desist. You know, we're from so-and-so company, you cannot. Exactly. But I think you'll be getting one. I think they're very protective over it. I just think it's been done. It's been done a million times. I think. The same as Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just been done, and we're lucky doing a Robert Englund documentary. But actually, our doc covers Freddy, but only a little baby bit, because the documentary is meant to be about Robert is more than Freddy. You know, he's more than Freddy Krueger. He comes back. We start off with Freddy, we middle is Freddy, and we end with Freddy. But in the peppered throughout, obviously, then he's obviously about his other career then. Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, you know, there's stuff that, you know, I'd love to do, but it's just it is pointless for us, to be honest.
Yeah. And do you find that when it comes to, like, for example, if J-Mac and I sat in a room right now and went, let's go make a documentary about Never Ending Story, now I would 100% be all over that, because I know every aspect from the. You could hum a part of the soundtrack, and I'll know exactly what's happening at the part you're humming. Right, that's how much I know that, but. For us, it's like, right, well, so you need to, the stars really have to align for you to be able to do this. This is kind of something Paul had kind of touched upon. How do you find that when you decide, right, this is what I'm going to do? I mean, have you just decided I want to do this because I love it, or is it, have you fell into it? Because I think the stars do have to align for you to be able to get to the cast. You know what I mean?
I'll quickly mention one thing. I'll go back then. The one for me, obviously, which was completely left field for us, was Police Academy, because I love that film, but it's not part of what we are. We are. Neil's not getting a shirt.
We'll send you one.
Yeah. You got off their website. Yeah, Police Academy is so left field for us, and I think you're right. I think it's one of them films where it's kind of like, I love it. A lot of people love Police Academy, but they won't admit to loving it. So it's a risk for us, that one is. But I think we're going to be lucky with it, I think. But going back, you know, most of our projects have always been what we love. So I loved Return of the Living Dead. I loved Hellraiser. I love Fright Night. And Chris Griffiths loves Robocop. And basically what happened was Chris wanted to do it, but he was and ahhing about doing it because obviously the MGM issues and stuff like that. And also a book had been released by an author called, I think it was called The Definitive History of Robocop. And Chris had approached the author and said, you know, do you think we should do this documentary? And he was like, no, you shouldn't. I've done the book, it's definitive. And also MGM will never allow you to do it. Now, for someone like me, in fact, someone says that to me, that really kind of puts a fire at my backside. And I said to Chris, we're doing it. I said, you've got Ed. I said, we're in LA and we were shooting Fright Night. I said, you've got Ed Neumeyer's friend on Facebook, you know, the writer of Robocop. Message him now, say we're in LA and we want to go for a meal with him. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I said, Chris, just bloody do it. So Chris messaged him. I think I dictated the message. Chris messaged him and said, you know, we're in LA, blah, blah, blah. And then 10 minutes later, bing, that sounds great. Yeah. When are you free? Okay. So we're free Thursday night. We met him at some Mexican place and we didn't mention Robocop to him in the sense of making a doc. And we were talking to him. It's really weird way to for meeting with 3 English guys he'd never met before. But he turned up. He paid as well, which was good. And it was it's always good when they pay. And it was a Mexican restaurant. And he said to us, you know, I think you guys, you know, you've done Fright Night, you've done Hellraiser. You should do Robocop. You know, I can tell you love it. And once he said that, the next day we went back to the hotel room and we literally wrote a narrative structure for the documentary. And that's how it kind of happened. So yeah, I think you're right. The stars aligned then, because if it wasn't getting his seal of approval, we wouldn't have done it. Because you've got to get certain people, same as Tom Holland. If Tom hadn't have watched Leviathan, the documentary on Hellraiser, he wouldn't have agreed to doing Fright Night. Without Tom, we wouldn't have got everybody else. Because once you had Tom Holland, not Spider-Man, the original Tom Holland. Yeah. Once you've got him, you got Chris Sarandon, Amanda Burst, William Ragsdale, Jonathan Stark, it started the snowball effect. And the same is obviously with Police Academy. Once we got Paul Maslansky, the producer of all the Police Academy films, basically the godfather of Police Academy, everybody else came on board. So the stars do align, and if you don't get that one person, you're screwed, really. And we suffered that with Hellraiser a little bit with Clive, but we found it difficult because Clive wasn't involved, but it worked out in the end. But it was more of a struggle than any of the projects we worked on because of that.
I suppose we can kind of relate that. Absolutely. Stephen McCall, good Scottish actor. Don't know if you're aware of Stephen McCall, who's in stuff like Rushmore and stuff. Well, we had him on the show, and we kind of kept friendly with him. We text often, and we watched a TV series that he was in. It won a BAFTA called High Times. Scottish show. Oh, unbelievable! Great humor, brilliantly written. It was great, and we were like, mate, it would be great to do an episode of High Times because we really want to talk to you about that specific episode. He was like, why don't you do a full series? He was like, I'll ask literally the full cast and crew. He asked them, got back to us, ping, 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 ping.
Yeah.
All these contacts. I was like, wow. So because
just seeing all these phone numbers coming through on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Here's this, here's that.
Right.
We were just like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, it was a fantastic experience. The whole series was so much fun to do as well. But again, it's that just that kind of chance encounter. In fact, when we interviewed Stephen McCall, when we interviewed him for the first time, we hadn't seen High Times. We watched it after the interview and then got back in touch with him. We're like, man, this is something that we can really kind of.
Well, it's like anything. It's like, when we did the screening in Birmingham and it was a shit show, and I went up and it was like 3 people in the audience. The fact that we did that led on to then doing the screening, led on to Hellraiser, and actually, I could. This could be another podcast. The fallout we had with the people who organised that event. I mean, they wanted to kill me because I took over the event. Basically, I was banned from the custard factory. I was called a weasel.
Banned from the custard. That's your autobiography. Banned from the custard.
But they it got really messy with them, and but again, if it wasn't for those relationships we had with those people, it wouldn't have snowballed into something else. So, and everybody you meet, I mean, I worked with Neil at school, we worked in education, and I met Neil, he came for a job there. I'd been there 15 years, something like that. And that meeting Neil, the Ditties would never have happened. And it's about, I do find, I think everything happens for a reason, serendipity, but I think, you meet people and obviously those people influence you, and, it is about that kind of journey you're on. I know for a fact if I didn't do that screening in Birmingham where it was a shit show with 3 people, I probably wouldn't have been doing. I'm probably here now talking to you because that one event literally snowballed everything that we've done since. And the people I met Chris because I did a screening of Manhunt and of Return of the Living Dead. Sorry, with Don, and Chris came to that screening. Chris lived in Wales and came to that screening, and we became really close friends because of that. If it wasn't for that, I'd never met Chris. We'd never done the documentaries together. It is such a but that's life in general, isn't it? You meet people and obviously they influence you, and then you get rid of them.
I've still got mine. I'm kidding.
No, Neil's next. I'll get rid of him.
It is nice to hear that because your journey is pretty much the same as ours. We started off doing a podcast because we worked together. I realized that when we would talk about movies and people would at our work, people would come and sit near us and laugh at what we were talking about. And I was like, this is a podcast. So we started the podcast, and then I initially saw the podcast as the body of a spider, and I wanted the legs to be something different. Screenings, like it says, we've done 5 before lockdown now, so 5 successful screenings with a local cinema. I think if you find the right people and the right recipes, I think you're on something there. And
we've been through a few people, unfortunately. We have. No, seriously, over the years, we've had people come on board the projects who we've got rid of. Because they just haven't worked with us, unfortunately, and it's about that journey. You get people on board, and if they don't gel, you've got to have the same humor for a start. And my sense of humor is very unique, but Neil matches my humor, and Chris matches my humor as well. So once you got that, it kind of works really nice. But if you don't have that, people think you're a bit of a knob. That's a problem. And I think me and John Campo are going to get on, but he likes me in small doses, and our editor Eastwood on Robodoc, who's an amazing editor. I mean, everything you see is him. I don't think he could stand me for the first 5 years. We're kind of friendly now. He's doing a bit of innuendo with me on jokes now. We never did before. I'd make some innuendo carry on kind of reference, and you look like a bloody, threatened to kill his wife or something. But that relationship has evolved. But you're on a journey with people, aren't you? And some people get on the train, some people get off the train, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Or get pushed off the train.
I absolutely love it. I try to surround myself with people that are mega talented and stuff, and that are.
I don't tend to do that because I'm the most talented. So I get people who are okay. I'm the talented one, and people around me kind of like, I mold those people. That's what I try to do.
I try to do it the opposite way. If I'm going to be jumping in the water and learning how to swim the channel, I want to be next to some Olympic swimmers that can kind of, you know what I mean? No, I mean,
you've got to have people around who I think more than talent, I think passion is for me. Is the people got to be passionate about what they're doing, and I know the people I work with, with Chris Regards for documentaries, he's passionate about filmmaking and about film, and obviously about the docs. Neil and Adam are passionate about the ditties and about storytelling and character development. Yeah. And if you don't have those people on board, you don't gel and you don't create stuff. So you're right. I think they've got to be talented as well and have skills. It's always good to have a good cinematographer and a good sound person, but it's the passion for me. Really, they've got to understand what be on that kind of same wavelength as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We've spoke a little bit about Fright Night. I'm just going to play the trailer here. I watched it already and I enjoyed this, so I'm going to play the trailer here for everybody at home watching. Where I noticed everywhere I look on cult screenings,
So basically, we released Brewster on which is Fright Night Doc. It was sold out 3 or 4 years ago. You can get Brewster now. You can get it on the Eureka UK release. They licensed it. It's on there. Also, serendipity again. Sony Pictures approached us, and we thought we're in serious trouble here. We got an email of Sony Pictures titled "You also call Brewster," but we're going to be sued. They actually licensed it off us for their Blu-ray. So now it's an official doc now. Shudder had it as well. Shudder, who obviously partners Amazon. So it's out there and about, but you can buy it on Blu-ray for about £200, I think, at the moment.
Fuck me.
Wow.
I've got copies in the garage for £100.
That's getting there, getting better. So here's the trailer for that not very expensive documentary that you should buy from Gary's Garage.
Traditional horror had gone away, and what I wanted to do was bring back the classic horror monsters that I'd grown up with. This idea came to me, and I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if a horror movie fan became convinced that his next-door neighbor was a vampire? If I was that kid, what would I do? Who would I go to for help? Because nobody would believe you.
Welcome to Fright Night. For real.
Fright Night is both an homage to the vampire genre and also a revitalization of it.
The movie is like getting on a roller coaster.
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster!
It's just a lot of fun.
There's going to be some fright going on tonight.
Hello, Charlie.
There are a number of elements to Fright Night that contributed to its success.
He's a vampire.
A what? But first and foremost, it's on the page.
Hey, kid.
I guess one of those stories that's timeless.
When Jerry's full vampire-ness was upon him, it was disturbing, it was gross. It wasn't a guy who's just pasty with a little trickle of blood. I mean, the guy was a heinous freak.
When I saw the movie for the first time with an audience, they went f***ing crazy.
They'd say, oh my God, that's the guy from Friday Night. And they would say, do that laugh. And I'm like, holy shit.
Peter Vincent, who's up Fright Night.
The heart of the show is Peter Vincent.
Charlie Brewster, I presume, Peter Vincent, vampire killer.
Roddy was a great mentor and a great friend.
He was a walking history book of film and of Hollywood.
You know, a legend and an icon.
Fright Night was kind of the beginning of the culmination of some of the coolest physical effects that were done in the 80s.
It was so well crafted. It's a movie that still holds up.
It's memorable because it has its own identity.
We had this incredible playground. All we had to do was go in there and make the best munches we could, and that was absolutely fun. I missed that. And there was a lot of cocaine.
Part of the joy of this film is the 80s kitsch.
You know, the big hair.
All the young kids went crazy for this look.
It very much captures that time as an era.
I think Fright Night has really endured because there was something for everybody.
It's terrifying, it's evocative, it's sexy.
Has also led to a lot of women being madly in love with Chris Sarandon.
So that was a whole different vibe. Now it wasn't just the good guy against the bad guy.
Assembling that group, I had the best job in the world.
Julie Carmen was steamy.
It was very much a cat and mouse relationship, and I just loved to play with him.
Very hot.
Thanks.
Peter, it's happening again. Fright Night 2 is a movie that seems to live on cable.
I mean, it's not out.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, with the distribution problems and all that.
The Menendez brothers killed Fright Night Part 2, as well as their parents. You f***ing
Fright night, who's it gonna be tonight? Like you're gonna win the fight.
The legacy of Fright Night is fascinating.
Hundreds of thousands of people over the world bringing it back year after year.
It's bigger now than it was then.
Collectibles, props, fan art. The remakes, the fans just won't let go.
Fright night.
Good evening, Fright Night fans.
No one knew that it would have this other life.
Wow, I was actually a part of something pretty cool.
This is the last time I'm ever gonna say this again. You're so cool, Brewster.
I need to see that.
Mate, you don't need to. You don't need to spend £200 or £100. You've just bloody seen the thing. No, that is full of fun.
I didn't know Brad Fidel had done the music for Fright Night.
Yeah, he had. Yeah.
I messaged him a few weeks ago to see if he would perhaps come on the podcast, and he was nice enough to get back to me to say no. But at least they got back to me.
At least
he didn't say no. He said not right now. But I'm hopeful. Maybe we'll get him on. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I love the behind in that documentary when I was watching it about the pencil and the hand scene and how he actually managed to pull it off. See, stuff like that, that's golden. I think that's why these kind of documentaries exist. Fright Night, is that one of your absolute favorite kind of movies?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for me because it's like you kind of bounce that and Lost Boys, and it's kind of I do tend, even though I love Lost Boys, I do tend to sway a little bit towards the Fright Night. I think because it just, for me, it's kind of like, again, that Roddy McDowall kind of character of Peter Vincent and loving him from Planet of the Apes, and I think there's more kind of comedy in that as well. But it's very close between the two of them. A lot of people do have that debate constantly about what is the best. But yeah, it's one of my all-time favourite films, Fright Night. I think it's just it's the perfect balance of horror comedy.
There's a movie quite like it. You know the movie with Shia LaBeouf called
There's quite a few, Disturbia. There's quite a few actually. There's even a new one, the woman in the window, the girl.
Yeah, that was a book that I actually read.
Yeah, but that's a little bit like he sees a murder across the road, and she's. It's a lot of similar kind of like themes going through it. But look, actually, Neil, when we wrote the book on Fright Night after we did the doc, Neil made a good point about the similarities between Fright Night and Salem's Lot, with the character of Jonathan Stark's character, who's Billy Cole, and how this guy obviously is, is he human? Is he not? Same as James Mason's character in Salem's Lot. And it's kind of, that was obviously, 10, 15 years before Fright Night. So there's a little bit of similarities there between those kind of like, these ghouls who guard the dead. And even the end bit where Jonathan Stark gets shot by Peter Vincent, he falls down and says he comes back. Exact same thing happens with James Mason. Exactly.
I think they borrow from each other, don't they?
Yeah. Someone's having a go at me there for talking about Lost Boys.
You can't speak blasphemy, especially when you.
I love Lost Boys. Yeah, I love Lost Boys. Yeah.
Kevin, do you remember the kind of very short argument we had about Lost Boys and how I said, I don't think it's the best 80s vampire movie, and you're like, name me another one, and I was like,
Fright Night.
Fright Night, Near Dark.
Those were the ones you used.
I said Near Dark. I hadn't seen Fright Night, so I did see.
I'm not a huge kind of like fan of Near Dark. I don't see what the massive hype is on Near Dark. I just think it's kind of people love it. It's a good enough film. I don't think it's there like on a par with Fright Night and Lost Boys in any way. But people will wet themselves over it.
It's got Bill Paxton in it. That's enough.
I think it's got most of the cast and bloody aliens, hasn't it? They obviously had a day off set, so they went and did that film instead.
A day. Bloody hell.
Probably.
So I mean, for you, this is another opportunity for you to kind of meet your heroes after watching Fright Night as a child and kind of growing up with that. I mean, I take it that was pretty much just as surreal as it was.
It was, yeah. It was absolutely surreal, and the kind of funny thing was, it was the one person we couldn't obviously meet was Roddy, because obviously Roddy had died in '98. So, but again, he felt like he was part of the doc because of how kind of much people loved Roddy McDowell. But I loved meeting, everybody on that. I came really close to Tom Holland as well, but also Steve Johnson, who's one of the most amazing special effects makeup guys of the 1980s and 90s. We've become really friendly and close, me and Steve, and he's just an amazing guy. We always go and see him when we're in LA. And the other person we always go and see when we're in LA is John Grise, who was in Fright Night 2, who plays the werewolf in number 2, but also was in Napoleon Dynamite. He played, I think, the uncle in it.
Mate. Yeah. So are we feeling good about
the But he's just an amazing guy, John. So when we're in LA, we always go and see him. Yeah, and that's what you do. You get friendly with these people, and you become friends. With and it's just that's a nice experience. But yeah, meeting like William Ragsdale and Stephen Jeffries, and even though I knew about Stephen Jeffries' alternative life as well in other adult entertainment, what he did after, just Google it. we never mentioned it in my doc. We never mentioned it, but yeah, just Google it.
Anytime someone says just Google that, it never works out well for me. And then I send it to J-Mac, and he's like, "Why do you send me this stuff?"
Oh man, sometimes I question our friendship when you send me certain things. I really do.
Parts of Stephen are definitely rising from the dead in that film. In his other films, sorry.
Oh man. Another documentary which we kind of touched upon, which this is the one you work with John Campopiano on, which is that also in the background? Is that another screen worn suit?
It's what? Sorry.
The screen, is that screen worn? The one in your
no. That's a replica. John has two screen replicas, which one of them, I believe, if John is watching this probably retrospectively, John is keeping for Dead Mouse Productions, the second suit. But no, that's a replica suit of the Pennywise.
I see.
Yeah.
And so you like people know Tim Curry obviously for it, but for me, I grew up watching Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that if I probably didn't watch it as a child, I probably wouldn't have loved it so dearly. Even because if I watched that now, I'd be like, "What? I don't understand it."
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that's just kind of in the fabric of my being. So, did you get to meet Tim Curry also?
Yeah. We went to Tim's house. I think we were kind of worried about Tim because everyone said to us we'd never get him because I mean, many people obviously aware Tim had a stroke 10 years ago and he's in a wheelchair, and it was always kind of that kind of would he be able to be interviewing? Would he be up for interviewing? Because he hadn't done a lot actually prior to our interview, and now he's doing conventions. Now he's doing other stuff. So he's actually. His road to recovery obviously is allowing him to obviously be more involved with the fans. But at the time we were kind of really worried. But again, we decided to still do a doc, just because I think we could still pull it off without Tim, because people would understand why he wasn't in it. And he agreed straight away, and he agreed because I think he was so kind of like tired of talking about Rocky Horror. Everybody connects to that, and obviously nobody really talked to him about Pennywise and Stephen King's It. So I'll tell you one weird thing. You can tell he's a Brit because we've always interviewed what we've done. In America, you go to people's houses, or you go. The first kind of docs went to people's houses. Now we do studios. It's just easier for us to be based in the studio, and we get obviously people coming into us. But when we first did like Friday Night, and we did the Hellraiser doc, when you go to an American person's house, you probably get off the drink. That's about it, you know. And it's kind of like it's very much business, in and out, professional, polite, you know, courteous. But there's no kind of like, you know, it's not like what the Brits do. But when we went to Tim's house, we had a big spread waiting for us of like donuts and cakes and coffee, and it's like, you know, you can tell he's a Brit in America. You know what I mean? He really looked after us, and I think that straight away broke the ice with us because we were worried, and we were waiting for him to come out, and we were sitting in his living room, and you know, all his pictures of him on the walls and whatnot, and his piano, that kind of stuff. And it's like he's getting ready, and obviously his helpers were helping him. We're sitting there waiting, and we're scoffing these donuts, you know, as you do, and out of nervousness, and suddenly we could hear him coming. And he walked in. Well, he walked in. He came in, and he was just brilliant. He was so just down to earth, kind of like courteous, funny. Few little kind of like sarky comments, but like jokey comments. And yeah, he gave a good interview. And it was obviously difficult. The interview was difficult because of the situation he's in. Because you know, he's obviously had a stroke, so it was difficult. But we got some really good stuff out of him. I'm so glad he's in there now, and obviously the doc's ready. Basically, he's now in the final stage of grade and quality assurance, and he's peppered throughout the doc, and you feel him so much in it now. It's even though it was only a short interview because obviously the situation we're in, he's very much kind of like peppered throughout, and you know, he's part of that really strongly. So no, and that, you know, being a kid of the 80s, he was around in every film, wasn't he? From like, you know, Congo, you know, to Home Alone, Legend, Home Alone 2, you know.
I love you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know, Treasure Island, you know, Three Musketeers.
Yes.
He's in so much, you know. The list go on and on, and you know, to have him.
Fern Gully.
Yeah, and Scary Movie 2, you know, that's obviously
the nipples.
Yeah.
That's funnier. Scary Movie 2 is funnier than the first one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
100%.
I agree.
Yeah,
I just think having him in it, he was amazing, and that was a big experience for us. Because again, like we talked about earlier on, the experience was weird because we were so nervous because it was so difficult to set up and whatnot. You kind of forgot it was Tim Curry. Do you know what I mean? And so when we walked out the door, we're like, that was Tim Curry. You know, that was the guy who we've all loved for years. We've just been in his house, and I wish we could go back in, speak to him again, and we just couldn't. It was kind of, you know, get a coffee with him, get something to eat. But unfortunately, these projects, you go in, do your business, and go out. You know, as we've said.
What's the distribution plan for the Pennywise doc? Is it going to be straight onto streaming, or is it a theatrical thing, or is it?
It's going to be a bit of both. So we've actually teamed up with a guy now called Hank Stars, who is a British producer, and he did Elstree 1976, the Star Wars doc. He's just done one called Hollywood Bulldogs, I think it's called, about stuntmen, which has been released last week. But we're now obviously becoming more official as our releases instead of independent. So that both Pennywise, Robodoc, and Icon are going to be a 3-picture deal where they're coming out, obviously limited theatrical, then it'll be streaming. We don't know what streaming services yet. Obviously, we're still negotiating. That will then follow with a limited edition steelbook Blu-ray for each of the projects, which will be extended versions. And obviously, then what will follow from that will be the books as well. Will come out after. So it's going more worldwide now. Whereas obviously other projects were limited edition Blu-rays or DVDs, and then we've licensed stuff. So Hellraiser was licensed in Spain, France, Italy, Germany, Japan, China, the States, UK. So that documentary's been like literally everywhere. That doc over the last eight years. But it's been like piecemeal, you know, bill at a time, you know, this deal done here, this deal done there, you know, whereas this is obviously going to be straight away, you know, distributed worldwide. So they're going to be good, hopefully.
Unbelievable. Do you ever get...
There is a real hunger for documentaries, especially now.
It's really strange, because when we started doing Leviathan, there wasn't really much out there other than Never Sleep Again, obviously. And now it's like The World and His Wife are doing docs. I know you're doing your own, but you know, there's a guy wanting to interview me for a Howard the Duck documentary. You know, and I love Howard. That's why he got someone to interview. But you know, every film now has got a documentary about it. So the market's become so. But people love watching retrospective stuff now, and I think because it's about celebration, and it's about obviously promotion of work, but also you look at stuff like Tiger King, and you look at the Cecil Hotel documentary, and the one about the London bomber. Documentaries have become the new kind of binge, haven't they? Whereas documentaries used to be an hour and a half. Now there's like a series of it. We even discussed about Robodoc being a series, because we've got hours upon hours of obviously footage, and we're covering the first 3 films, we're covering the TV series, we're covering the comic series, and we're covering obviously the legacy of it as well. So I'm holding a Saul Goodman figure here, just knocking him against my hand. I don't know why.
One thing I like also is a wee figure.
Oh, you got Robocop.
I think mate, he still works from 1996, man. From 1996. Look at that.
They used to market these things to kids, man.
Oh yeah. That's the thing you think about Robocop. It's an 18 certificate film. Yeah, it was made. It was actually originally. I think the first trailer said the next superhero. The first trailer put that out, and it was like, hang on a minute. And I've got a story which was weird about influence on films. I remember me and my school friend Ben Sparry watching Robocop at his house when we were in primary school, so about 10. And I remember us buying sherbet dip and lying sherbet dip on a table and copying Bob Morton and sniffing it. We had no idea what cocaine was or drugs, and we were sniffing sherbet dip because of Robocop.
I swear to God, I remember watching Robocop when I was probably far too young to see it with my dad, and asking him what that was, and he told me it was sherbet.
Oh wow! Someone's told me we were sniffing it. I remember vividly snorting sherbet dip.
Was that a fucking sore?
I can't remember.
I can imagine. Must have been good. Do you ever get imposter syndrome? Like you ever look around yourself and go, "I'm going to get caught out right now." Do you ever feel like that? I know a lot of actors when they first start on like set, they kind of feel like that.
Yeah, I think you often feel that. I think with the Ditties more than anything, really, because we're now going into kind of like our own narrative stuff, and where we're trying to obviously push ourselves as writers and creators of our own stuff. And we're working with obviously actors, and we're directing actors, and we're producing actors. Not physically producing, you know what I mean? It's kind of
There's a Ditties episode.
There's Bruce Jones. I think what you feel yourself more kind of under the spotlight now. I think more than any. And actually working with Hank now has made us feel a little bit more kind of like under the spotlight, because we're working with a professional producer and distributor who, he's asking us stuff, over the last 2 or 3 years, where we got away with it before. We released a doc and got away with it. And now he's going, we need this legally, we need this, we need that. We're going, and we're having to retrospectively go through paperwork and get sign-offs, that kind of stuff, which we didn't do before, because we used to do the banner of fair use. So, yeah, it's kind of, it does feel like a bit of a bubble. But I think because everything's so fast, we're working on so many projects, and because we have day jobs as well, it kind of, you don't stop to think about it too much, other than you ask me that question, man. You kind of, I think one day we'll stop and think and go, something's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be in prison for copyright infringement alongside you for that shirt.
I mean, isn't it fine if I declare it as
I'm all legal. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm going to copyright you, J-Mac.
Do you want one of these, Gary?
Yes, please. Yeah,
I was expecting to go cold and go.
No, I'll have one. I'll have, next Guy Fawkes, I can put it on him. Don't worry.
Do you want one of these? We'll send them a double pack. I'm going to play the teaser here for Pennywise. That's still called Pennywise. So here we go. Here we go.
All
spider climbed up the spout again.
Okay,
nice.
ignore 2018. And also, we had to release a trailer, full trailer of obviously all the casting, but we've had to remove it because of distribution. Basically, yeah, it sounds daft. We had to basically take down our trailers. We had a trailer for obviously for that and another project we had to take down because of potential distribution kind of issues. So it's a shame that we couldn't show that one, but you know, it's one of those. But ignore 2018.
Bits and bobs. I mean, it's nice to see, like, because obviously it has come out in 2 parts recently.
Yeah.
With a really well made reboot. By the way, if you're going to do something, do it like that. But it's nice to see the original, like, kind of going back. So I'm really glad you guys are doing that, and I can't wait. And like I says, we have access to a local cinema that would happily play every one of these on release, even if you guys came up. And we could host it there, or you can just send us it and we'll send you a check. But that's definitely something to be seen on the big screen. One thing that I would also like to see, I mean, you could probably see it on a big screen, being that it's like hour-long episodes. Dark Ditties. Now, I had sent JMac Did you check out Dark Ditties, JMac?
I wish I had the chance, right? But
say yes.
Now, see, my problem is.
What was your favourite episode?
Gary, I'm always too truthful, and one of the reasons that I'm always truthful is that if I lie, Kevin knows I'm lying, and he will try and trip me up. So, what I've basically I've just started a new job doing 12-hour shifts, and then I've came away on a holiday, and you know when you go on holiday with your wife, every minute is just accounted for. So what we're doing today, and we go and we don't return for. There's no downtime on a holiday when you've got a wife. So
not an excuse. Not an excuse.
Sorry, man. Right, it was nice meeting you.
I spent 5 years of my life making these bloody things. You can't be bothered to watch them.
J-Mac, the good thing is, the really cool thing is, you can still watch them. I've seen them now. And I'll go back and watch them again, but you get to watch them with fresh eyes, and then I get to get your opinion on that. So it's actually cool that you haven't seen them yet, because I'm going to sell them to you in this next segment. Dark Ditties, right? When you had said to me that, you know, I was like, I had messaged you, and I was like, so what you got coming up? We'll kind of talk about some of that stuff. And you wrote Dark Ditties, and I was like, because I know that you've done the documentaries. I thought, Dark Ditties, is that something I've missed? Why have I never heard of that? Right? And I was like, what is this? So you sent me the links, and I was like, right, okay. And so I'm the kind of guy that doesn't like to watch trailers too often. I like to just get into it and try that whole feeling of, what is this? Right? And I was like, all right, I see what we're going for here. Like a kind of mystery mansion in episode 1, which is called The Offer, which is essentially, you know, everybody gets offered an opportunity. The winner will get a prize, money, but you always know there's some crafty shit going on here, right? Right. And what I love about it, right, is and I think it's all primarily British actors, isn't it? They're all, aren't they?
Other than Barbie Wilde, who's Canadian, they're all Brits,
Right, so recognizable faces as well. A lot of people have seen like Bruce Jones and stuff. And what I really liked about Bruce Jones as well is not one point when I watched that was I like, there's Les Batterby. At all. Good. Did not see that at all, and that's why I was like, this is refreshing. And I love as well. See, every time I see him as a new character, it's exciting to see him as someone else, right? And he does it so well. And so the idea, it's not like American Horror Story, but in the sense that the actors, the cast are the same, but their characters are different, but they still all intertwine.
Yeah.
And I was trying to puzzle it all together as you're watching. And that's one of the things about you're not just giving us something to watch, but you're giving us bits to connect ourselves and do our homework. And were you surprised I found Annie in episode 3?
Yeah, because you messaged me, and I think you said about, is it Mrs. Wilshire, a young version of her?
Yeah.
But he calls her Ms. Wilshire. Yeah. So we put her in.
Not even a warning, Kevin.
But we bought. What we tried to do, obviously, just said we've created an anthology series which can be watched in any particular order, but they have the same actors playing different characters, which obviously like the Carry On films we tried to emulate. But also, you've got a couple of characters, who are literally in it. He's gone again because it's all my dad is. You got some characters in it who obviously play the same, are in every episode, obviously all reference to. So Ken Cranham's character, he never plays anybody other than Benoit. He always plays Benoit in the series, but there's obviously a narrative link. We've tried to create this kind of a world where it's people's lives and their stories and how it connects to this bigger world, what's happening behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's even characters being mentioned that we've not seen yet.
Oh,
like Harry the Hatchet.
Harry the Hatchet, yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, what a name. I'm going to, for everybody watching and listening as well, if you're listening to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, go to YouTube or Facebook, anywhere that we are, and watch this episode so that you can see all these cool trailers. But I'm going to play here the teaser for Dark Ditties to kind of give you a feel for what it's all about.
Got them all here, honey. It's a veritable cornucopia.
Who is it?
My God.
I'm Selwyn Parsons.
And I'm Marvin Lafontaine.
I mean, we are talking some serious mafioso merchandise right here.
So I was actually thinking that I don't think this is really me.
I learned that lesson, all right.
He wasn't very happy.
I'm surprised I haven't piddled in my britches.
I should report it to the police.
No, nobody's calling anyone until I say so.
Oh, piss off, George.
No, we've got bigger problems than the old bill.
You're not getting me like this bloody lot.
Is daylight robbery, that?
Not actually, no.
I'm gonna cut off both your hands and feed you your own tongue.
What's happening, man?
I didn't do it. How did I?
We finished the game.
I've never really won anything before.
4 weeks in Marbella, cash in hand. Lovely.
Hey, just look at those shoes.
Shoes?
2 people are dead, and we're discussing the price of a pair of fucking shoes!
Hey? A shoe? My size, hello? Dirty bastard. You just never know, do you?
You send him straight up with that thieving little piece of shit. Oh, I hope you're not referring to me, my dear.
The thought never occurred to me, sir.
I'm sorry.
I think we can all safely place our bets on this one.
They don't blame me again. I'm sure 10 million will help soothe her pain.
What can I do for you two fine specimens?
So the moment has arrived.
Oh, here we are then. Entertainment's arrived.
What is it you're wanting to know? Is the old place haunted? Ghosts and all? I'm speaking to you from beyond the grave.
You've no right here anymore.
Just a dream.
Love it. It's all too familiar for me because I just binged it recently. I actually tried to slow myself down. Each episode's different as well. I really like that. I like how you're not getting the same thing, and there's a warm feeling. It's strange when I describe it like that, but when I watch a movie like something like Fright Night, and there's this warmth to the movie that you feel extra comfortable when you're watching it. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, we've tried to create the characters where, you know, you kind of, most of our characters aren't really nice people, but you still kind of, there's something about the people you connect with. So episode 1, The Offer's about greed and about what people will do in a crisis, obviously how people turn on each other. Episode 2 is about, unfortunately, it's about abuse and about how people hide things in their life and families hide secrets. And obviously the consequences of that, which people can obviously relate to, no matter if it's abuse or just about secrets in families and how families operate. And 3 obviously is about luck and chance. You know, people stumbling on something and obviously even the consequences of that. And 4 is about ego. 4 is, you know, about kind of like, you know, what people would do just to be successful and obviously, you know, push that kind of boundary a little bit. And 5, which is going to be coming out, Dad, is about is the zombie apocalypse, which is linked, which basically comes from all these episodes. but it's about a guy who's got dementia. And what would you do? You know, if your dad had dementia in a zombie apocalypse, what would you stay with your dad? Because if you left him on his own, he'd be dead. You know, because he doesn't know what's going on. And it's about that character's journey with his father and how it links to the previous episodes. That, you know, we're trying to kind of touch upon things which are really kind of like important messages as well, without being kind of like cliche and kind of woke and stuff like that. We want to basically tell real life stories, but in a very surreal world.
That I had messaged you after watching. I think the Mrs. Wiltshire episode is so different, but the same, but so different from the others, because it is it's dark, but it's honest. And I think you guys went where people would be like, "Oh, we're not doing that," and I think, but you do it justice that way. You know what I mean? Like I'm watching that and going, right, Mrs. Wiltshire, just leave.
Yeah.
But yet you understand her reasons for not leaving, right? And even though you know he's talking shite, right, when he's putting this on her, he's playing on her weaknesses. He's a real predator. I mean, that character, Mr. Wiltshire, right?
Yeah.
Is the embodiment of everything that's evil, right? Tell me someone that, like, you put everything in him. Yep. He's I'm not going to, I can't look at me, J-Mac. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm a well-known spoiler.
Me too.
Remember how I always say to you, J-Mac, a bad guy needs to be a bad guy for it to work. You really need to have someone that you either fear, you dislike, you hate, because if your bad guy sucks ass, then there's really no point to the story that you try to create. This guy,
it's difficult, because I think I told you before. You know, somebody we know very well obviously did suffer abuse, so we tried to do that justice. What we didn't want to do, obviously, is make a mockery of it, because it's really difficult. It's a thin line when you're doing a horror comedy, and you know, comedy is very subtle in episode 2. It's more about obviously the humor of her, really, about her kind of like trying to cover up stuff. You know, things about, you know, what's happening to her. She's trying to cover up and make excuses for it. But we knew somebody that had been abused, and they gave us obviously their side of the story, and obviously we put that into the script. So hopefully it's honest as well. And the difficulty was as well, Mrs. Wiltshire, because we're trying to emulate this kind of carry-on feel, and obviously also theatre. We're trying to have a troupe of actors, we call them, obviously our ensemble. And in the theatre, women will play men, and men will play women. So Mrs. Wiltshire is played by a man, but it's not promoted in that way in any way. You know, we've actually come up with a pseudonym of an actress called Doris Boham, who plays the character. And a lot of people don't realise actually that it is Simon Bamford playing Mrs. Wiltshire. And
I had no idea.
Yeah, people still think it's makeup. Yeah,
you could see that something was done, but I just thought that was to make her look old. I thought
it
was a younger actress that wanted to look older, right? But no,
a lot of people think it's a woman, and I think we were very conscious about the fact you're doing this episode about abuse, and you got a male playing a female. We didn't want to be, you know, Inside Number 9 or you know, Peter Kay kind of, or Mrs. Doubtfire kind of thing. We wanted it to be that you actually feel for her, and you don't. You know, that's why I said we advertised the episode as starring Doris F. Boham as an actress, because I think if you knew beforehand, people are watching this now, go and watch it. I think you take you away from it a little bit. But I think Simon does an amazing job. He does an absolutely amazing job as her, and it was so weird on the set because you actually thought she was an old lady on the set. It was so strange. And in between takes, you'd go up to him and like, "Oh, do you want anything?" Fucking Simon, you know, he can walk his own, you know, make his own tea, lazy. But you'd forget really quick. And in the flesh, that makeup looked so real in the flesh as well. Without the lighting on it and whatnot. And, you know, it was a genuine performance. And I think, you know, it's a difficult episode for us because even now, when we're trying to promote the series, I've always felt very conscious about. Episode 1, I feel conscious about because it was our first one, and there's some tech issues in that regard, so some sound issues. Episode 2, so dark, and it's so serious in its tone, in the sense of what it's about. We always push people towards episode 3, Finders Keepers, because it's the episode which is kind of like, you know, it's the fun one really, and the kind of a kooky one. But I love episode 4. I love Witching Hour. I really do.
One question that I've got, obviously, like I admitted to a minute ago, I haven't seen them yet. But when you're working on that kind of subject matter. I mean, do you feel like you're kind of treading on eggshells these days?
Yeah,
when it comes to the woke
it was
culture?
hot. It was hot. We filmed it in 2000 and what was it, 2018? So it wasn't as bad, the woke thing, as it is now. So it wasn't really on the radar. Sounds daft, but the eggshells was a subject matter. So it was very tough to shoot. We shot it over 4 days in a house with a limited number of cast. There was no laughter on set, in between. Like the other episodes, we've had laughter, there was none of that at all. I think it was a very small cast. Bruce kept himself to himself. Bruce was very conscious about playing that character because he obviously, he's known for Les Battersby. He obviously, in the off, he was very loud, brash kind of character. But in this one, he was really worried about playing the character because of who he is and what he does. The character is not a nice person. So it was a really tough shoot, to be honest. And I think because we had the person on set who had been abused, and it was kind of their story, minus the ghosts and whatnot. But it was their kind of like, it was their kind of pain, what they'd been through. It was difficult not, we had to be eggshells because we couldn't have that kind of like sense of, let's have a joke and a laugh. And Neil's right, we did, only twice we've actually, the crew have all cried. It sounds daft. These are all kind of guys and girls and whatnot, and who work kind of like really hard to make these episodes happen. Wilshire, after one of the scenes, everybody was fucking, was literally in tears. And the same happened on Dad. We had a scene with Ian Gilder, who's obviously known for Game of Thrones. And we did a scene on Dad, and it was a real emotional scene. And at the end, everybody, and even the camera guy he doesn't like things to get to him. He puts on very much of a front, I'll sell this crap, kind of person. But actually, he was in tears as well. And so we hopefully people are watching it and feeling the same, really, and hopefully they're laughing at the right time as well, and they're laughing that when she's making silly comments and she's trying to justify basic things. But then when you get the tragedy, you feel it. Do you know what I mean? So more so, that was probably than the wokeness was more trying to do the story justice and trying to, not make light of what people go through on a daily basis, because people are living that now as we speak,
Yeah.
And I think that was difficult without trying to get too deep into it.
It's like it almost is like the inner workings. You're watching this and you're seeing Mrs. Wiltshire putting the brave face on for the right reasons. It's like she's selfless. She's being bullied, but she's selfless. Like all of her pain doesn't come from just kicking back and accepting it. It's not like, well, this is my. First off, there's a part where she mentions, well, this was the 80s. You don't get divorced then. So it's the whole shaming kind of thing. I left my husband or whatever. There's that. There's her children. There's even the whole, like, it shows how much of her character was broken because she realized things were going on in her own house.
Yeah.
And rather than having to deal with it and through what consequences that may face, it was easier for her to just ignore it. Just there's so much that goes into that scenario, and when you're watching that, I think it's really easy for the way it's filmed, the way you guys done it. Credit, it's really easy for someone like myself to sit at home and watch it and go,
yeah,
wow, I see it. I see everything that she's going through. You know what I mean?
I think that's credit to the actors as well. What we do on all the episodes, we learned it from Tom, actually. Tom Holland told us his trick, obviously, on Fright Night. What we do with all the actors, we allow them to create more backstories for the characters. So we go away and come back to us and discuss the character, about the journey they think they've been on. So like Bruce had talked about the character of Mr. Wilshire, that he was obviously, working class, factories, very proud, lost his job. Then obviously took it out and his wife, obviously the abuse started, obviously with the children and stuff like that. But as far as the neighbours were concerned, he was a great guy. Everyone loved him. He was down in the pub and he was that jolly kind of guy, but behind closed doors because of his insecurities and his masculinity being affected. Because in episode 6, we've got the scenes in 1979, episode 6 in Stained, where Mrs. Wilshire's back again. But obviously when she was younger and she's out working, and he's done his backing. So that masculinity issue back in the 70s would have been massive. And obviously, and we talked about the character of Tony, the son as well, that Tony, which don't really touch upon, we don't, in the episode, that he was gay, and obviously he left because his dad, not only abused him, but his dad would have, having a gay in the house would have been a massive thing for his dad, so he threw him out. And then he went to live his life, obviously, in London, and obviously comes back to his mum then, and obviously, but he's come back stronger because he's been in you know, okay, the gay scene, but in the scene in London where he's been able to be himself and be strong, and he's come back then to his mum different. You know, he's changed, he's more confident, but he wouldn't have got back living at home. So we created all these backstories with the cast, and I think that comes across on the screen because you believe the characters more than you do. And obviously you mentioned about Annie, and I think you believe why Annie becomes what she does, because Annie's back in episodes 3 and 4, and you kind of believe, you know. And it's not about obviously just because you're abused, you become an abuser, but you know that does happen, unfortunately. But when you have experience in your life, it draws you to certain people. So she's then drawn to the character of Benoit, who's played by Ken Cranham, and he's not a nice person, but because of the relationship with her father and the stereotypes of men that she had in her life, she's drawn to those kind of men. So we try and get a little bit deep, but at the same time try and like allow the audience to kind of pick these up as well, these stories. And you know, I think you made a comment to me on Facebook where you said, you know, she's gone to him because obviously, you know, she likes a bad one basically, because that's all she's ever known. You know, he's bad men.
And I think it's probably normal to her to, like, she probably just went for that job. This is kind of how I interpret it. She probably just went for that job, and through her job, she's realized that her boss is actually a gangster that will kill people.
Yeah.
So it's normal. It's as normal to her to send, you know, well, I just get the flowers and send the usual flowers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
as it is for her to, you know, don't tell the teacher that you saw your dad kicking me in.
Yeah. She's obviously
these kind of things are normal. Yeah,
she's become immune to it, hasn't she? You know, I think when you the scene where she's on the phone to her mom, and then a mom talks after Mrs. Wilshire talks about when Annie first told her about her dad. You know. Annie leaves her mom and her brother, you know, and that's a big thing for her to do actually. As a, you know, she escapes from that house, but she actually leaves her brother and her mom to it. So that's she's saving herself, but she's leaving them. You know what I mean, as well. And then she goes to Benoit. You know, she falls in with him. So I think we try and obviously we're trying to create this world. Going back to the whole series, it's kind of we're trying to create. You know, throughout the whole series, you've got this kind of essence of the cult of the risen word, which is Tiberius Crane, who you meet in episode 4, and you meet again in episode 5. But actually, he's the kind of like link through the whole series. It's about the rise of that cult, but how then these people's lives are affected by him. So Wilshire is affected by him, but you don't know how really until you see episode 6 why Mr. Wilshire is involved with the risen word and how he became what he became. You see him in episode 2 where he's this evil ghost. You see him again in episode 4. You learn more about him in episode 6 through somebody else's story, actually. And I think that's what we're trying to do, create this kind of like really kind of weird kind of like world where you can watch it in any sequence, but also you kind of connect the dots like you do after. You go, actually, hang on a minute, that character's in that one, that character's in this.
That's what I like about it. That's what I really like about it, is the fact that there's more to it than just the episode. You can come away and as well, you can just kind of fill in any blanks that you may kind of have. You know, I really like that kind of do it yourself. Kind of, it would be pretty interesting to see us end an episode where you kind of just have to decide yourself how it kind of goes. Stuff like that. I think that's quite cool.
I think the episode 1, the offer when she gets out of the house. Somebody gets out of the house, that's spoiling it. I think we kind of left that a little bit, but you find out in episode 6 what happened. I think episode 6 or episode 5 what happened to her, and I think you have to wait then to find out what's happened to him. So, but again, we've often said Neil, Adam, and I that our episodes never end on a high. You know, the baddies technically always win in our episodes because that's life. You know, the goodies aren't always going to win, are they? And ultimately, what happens in this series leads to the apocalypse. Ultimately. And obviously, this is through this risen word. So it's about people's journeys through that. And it's trying to be realistic as well. Obviously, as much as you can be realistic with ghosts and zombies. But it's about, it's about human nature, as I said. You know, that's why the essence of abuse in episode 2 and the essence of dementia in episode 5. When you ever see a zombie film or a post-apocalyptic film with someone dementia in it, you don't see that. Because what would you do? You feel dad had dementia and the zombies banging on the door. What would you do?
Natural selection.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd think that, wouldn't you? And I think that, no, but that's the thing in episode 5. Well, I'd throw him into the zombies and run. But in episode 5, you know, David, the character, has to discusses making that choice. You know, does he basically, you know, why did he take his dad on? You know, and it's ultimately through guilt because of something he's done in his past, and it's through guilt. Then actually, his dad slows him down. And ultimately, that results in obviously, you know, I can say it, everybody dies in our episode. Everybody dying, everybody dies.
Do you have bigger plans for, like, so you got season 1? Is that just built around Kane, and then series 2 will kind of go into something different?
No, we discussed that. So we've already written the outline for season 2. So we discussed obviously about Crane, about how would we go something completely different. But actually, we thought it's a bigger world to tell. So we decided that season 1 is about Benoit and Crane. So Benoit, how Crane infiltrates Benoit. So Benoit is a crime lord who throughout the series you hear that people don't think people think he's kind of like, he's in with everybody. He's the kind of like Jimmy Savile, but not the pedo. He's the kind of like where Jimmy Savile infiltrated government and charities. He's the same kind of thing, and people love this guy until and that's why he gets it. So that's the crime element. Season 2 is about politics. So it's about how Crane infiltrates politics. So we've got a character who's replacing Benoit in season 2 called Nigel Fincher, who is a politician, and it's about how people connect to him for every episode, and how obviously he starts the Risen Word again. And episode 3 we're thinking about like an entertainment element of it, so how Crane gets involved, like, the 3 strands, isn't it? Crime, entertainment, and politics, basically. So we've gone back to Crane in season 2, and we've written an episode where it's basically you see what happened to Crane in was it 1820 or something it is, how he became what he became as well, his character.
That's amazing. I've really enjoyed. I love it when I find something new and something that's not the same as everything. I can't really liken it to something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's irritating for us because it's great when you watch it and you've straight away it struck a chord and you've enjoyed it. Everybody that watches it seems to really enjoy it. You got a t-shirt straight away. We get so many good reviews on it and people find it, but people find it is the problem for us because we're independent and obviously you stick it on Amazon. It's through Amazon through us, not through Amazon obviously as an original, and people have to search for it. And, we've got some fans in America, a lady called Laurie, who's a massive fan. I mean, she's got t-shirts coming out of her ear. She cosplays as the characters,
no way.
And she's such a trooper promoting the series. And we've got a few fans like that. But it's basically, again, it's the frustrating thing for us is people getting to watch it and see. And you see so much crap on TV, and I'm not saying we're amazing, but you see so much crap on TV and Netflix, and we know, we're trying to do something different. We're trying to do something a bit more unique with the story, and it's difficult, particularly especially now with the wokeness, about how we can continue to do these and try and stay true to what we want to do, as opposed to, sticking to a story now because you have to do that because you're ticking the box. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that, and I think that
far too much of the box ticking going on.
It is, we try to avoid that, and we've had many debates recently about kind of like the season and about season 2 about ticking boxes, and we kind of decided not to. Our characters are who they are. The characters are played by actors because they're actors who are good for those roles, and if we were casting, we would cast. We don't write characters for anybody in particular. Really, we don't. We have done obviously a little bit on season 1 because obviously we're independent. But I don't write a character saying young white male or young black male or young Asian male. It's just young male, and whoever comes to that audition, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're gay, bi, straight, transgender. I don't care if you're you're black, white. It's about if you're good enough for that role, that story.
So don't tell me you're doing things the way they should be done. That's
I just find it's more. I find it's actually it's reverse kind of like racism. If you start doing that, I think if you can't stay true to your story, it doesn't matter what color you are or what color I am. It makes no difference whatsoever to that, unless you're doing something which is very unique to that character. Do you know what I mean? Where you're doing something where it's a cultural thing. You've got to obviously be respectful then of that culture. But when it's a general character, does it matter what color they are? It matters who came for that audition, who was good. That's all that matters to us. And I think we've been fortunate to have some amazing actors. With Mark Wingert, Bruce Jones, Michael Higgs, and Barbie Wilde and Gemma, and obviously then Ian Gilder as well, and Ian Beattie. So we've been really lucky, and it's difficult for us to write. Obviously, if people, we write what we know, we write what we love, and we try and have these homages in for the horror and comedy as well.
Absolutely, it definitely shows, and it's good. That's why I said it was really refreshing to see something that you could tell was just like, we're doing it. This is how we've chosen to do it, and we're just going to go ahead and do it. Do you think that, you know, if Dark Ditties was to be picked up by a major, you know, a major company, that you would be restrained eventually, and it would kind of lose what you kind of had?
It depends who it is, I suppose. I mean, we've already rewritten the series as a 10-part series now. So we only, obviously, we've self-funded, obviously, episodes 1 to 5, and obviously we plan on doing 6, which is Stained. But we've, you know, retrospectively, we've rewritten the series as a narrative arc of 10 episodes. And actually, all episodes are 48 minutes, and we've actually changed some stuff as well in each episode to make them a bit more unique to be refilmed again. But we do know, we know, you know, it doesn't matter even if it's about wokeness. You know, when you, I think, what's his name was saying it the other day, Paul, when he's on the show, Paul said, I'm sure it was on here, he said it, or maybe I was talking to him privately, about when you look at Lost Boys, when it goes to producers, everyone's got an opinion on what it should be and how it should be a sequel. And I think that's going to be saying with the Ditties, it'll go to a board of people. Everybody have an opinion, obviously, what the story should be. We'll try and obviously stay unique as possible as much as we can, but obviously your hands are tied, unfortunately, in the business. And we've learned that quite a lot recently, that, you know, you've got to, unfortunately, if you want to do something, you've got to conform somewhat, you know, unless you're up there with, you know, with Gervais and whatnot, and you can just you know, shit out another series of Afterlife. You know, we're not like that. You know, we can't do that. You know, we've got to, unfortunately, so we don't know what's going to happen. So we hopefully we'll be able to stay unique to what we're doing and the stories that we're telling.
Absolutely, it is exciting. It is exciting, and I know we're going to support you guys as best as we can, whichever way we can. We do all right in regards to
T-shirts
and traffic, mate. Exactly. Hey, if you need a merch woman, the woman that she got this done in a day.
We want action figures. We want.
Hey, she could probably do it. I'm leaving. But you know, we've.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
You underestimate her power. That'd be Star Wars reference.
She's got the same power as me. We came from the same place.
I don't know. Like she got a wee bit of sauce. As you can see. But yeah, I mean, we've kept you 2 hours, so we won't keep you much longer. We always go for around an hour, unless the guest is happy to go longer.
I'm happy.
We can usually tell when the guest's like, yeah.
every time we ask a question, it's like.
Thing is, though, the problem is because we've got so many kind of like, you know, kind of like as you said, spider legs on our company. Unless you're just talking about RoboCop, we're going to talk for ages. So that's the problem, you know, because we've done unfortunately, we've done quite a lot of stuff.
Right, and it's all stuff we want to talk about as well.
Yeah,
which is why we should do more episodes, more streamlined episodes. I will want to get you back on to talk about Dad, the next episode. We're
really proud of Dad. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, you should be really proud of the series itself. It's just it's really unique, and it's been really good. I know that J-Mac, when you watch it, we're going to have conversations about it for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to. If I can stay awake, I will try and squeeze one in tonight before I go to
squeeze one
the old scratcher.
Don't watch Mrs. Wilshire tonight if you're going to bed.
Do it chronologically, maybe.
Right. So start with episode 1 then.
yeah. But the thing is, you can watch them in any order. But that's the whole point. Yeah. You can watch, apart from 6, you can watch them in any order, and that's what we try to do. You know, you can dip in. You know, if it's on, you know, the BBC, for argument's sake, you've missed episode 1 and 2, and you watch 3. It makes a difference. It doesn't, because actually number 3 is set before number 1. You know, and. Okay. But just don't watch Mrs. Wilshire.
You know what? I'm just going to go. I'm going to have to watch it
now. Neil Morris says, really enjoyed your show. You know what this means, Gary, right? When we get you back on to discuss Dad, gonna have to bring Neil on with you, right?
Oh God! Long as I said to you before, we were off. As long as you're not dressed as a woman. Neil works in a Catholic school still, unfortunately, and he got in trouble for that. yeah. So when we were ambushed, so make sure if Neil's back on, you don't dress up. or ask him
but
or ask him how big his bits are, so make sure you just don't do that.
God dang. You hearing this, J-Mac?
I'm not going to bother coming on then.
No, Neil will be good to get Neil, because obviously, you know, all jokes aside, Neil looks like Daniel Craig's uncle. Neil literally, obviously, is the heart of the series, and I don't know, he's probably bigging him up, and he is, because, you know, I've got the ideas and Adam's got the ideas, and we work really well together as a three of us, because obviously I've got the kind of like the horror element, and I like, you know, and I'll say to Neil, I want a story about, you know, a guy with his dad who's got dementia, and, you know, in the zombie apocalypse. Neil's a guy that actually creates kind of the dialogue. I think dialogue really sells us, really. He's an English literature expert, you know, he's got a brilliant use for English language, and I think the heart of it is Neil, and I think the gore and the funniness is both of us. And then Adam comes in, and Adam then constrains us and goes, no, that sounds crap, reduce this, move that, yeah, literally. And we need that balance as well with Adam, and he's like, no, that doesn't sound right, you're going too far here, tone it down. So we work really well. As we said before, and then we talked about at the very beginning, the three of us gel, and I think if one person left the Ditties now, we couldn't do it. We just couldn't, because especially if I left, it wouldn't happen.
I know how you feel.
yeah. I'm probably the heart and brain. Neil's probably the anus, probably, of the series. All the crap comes out of it.
Just what you were saying about Adam kind of restraining. Sometimes I'll come up with an idea, and I'll go to Kevin, and I know if he hates the idea, he goes like this. It's like, just
no,
you hate it, man.
Adam's more blunt. I'll tell you a very quick story about Adam. Very, very quick. He's very blunt. So we were having a meal with Ed Newmeyer, and we were obviously in LA having this meal with him. When we first kind of met him, and obviously Ed Newmeyer also wrote Starship Troopers.
Yes.
And we were talking about the film. We was going, oh, brilliant, blah blah blah. And he was talking about, you know, part 2, part 3. Adam went, yeah, I think part 3 shit. And then Ed went, I directed that. Adam went, still. And Adam went, still shit. I was like, we were going, what? We looked at each other, me and Chris, and Adam's like, yeah, still shit. I was like, okay.
I think when you say it, when he says something like, yeah, that was shit, if he was to say, yeah, I directed that, and then he tried to backtrack, it was just,
he never backtracked. He went, no, you went, that shit.
You've got to stand by it. Stand by it.
And his attitude is, it's my opinion, and it's, you know, it's good, but you know, be careful. I'd rather you lie to his face, you know what I mean, and say, oh, I meant Starship Troopers 4 I was talking about. Oh, I'd rather him do that.
J-Mac, you done that very thing. He always paints me as the wild one, right? But we were on a call, right? We'll not mention too many names, right? But we were on a Zoom call, and we were brought in with someone that works out in LA who's an award-winning cameraman. He works with Michael Moore, right? Okay. And so we're having a conversation with him to talk about future project, and J-Mac enters the call a bit later. So I'm already aware that this is Michael Moore's cameraman, right? Yeah. And J-Mac rocks up. Oh, a cameraman. Hi, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. The guy's saying, you know, look, my hair's grown long now, and I've got the beard, and I'm starting to look, you know, a bit out of sorts. J-Mac hits with a one-liner, and he goes, well, at least you don't look like Michael Moore. And everybody's like... And then words from a specific someone were, J-Mac, that's his best friend. And Jordan, show us the face that you pulled.
I don't know what I did. My arse fell out my fucking mouth. I had no idea. My whole world just collapsed at that moment. It was just like, you see the moments in the movies where folk just kind of go like this. They go,
What is the chances of anyone to use as an insult?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
anyone at that specific time. You chose Michael Moore.
Yeah, his best friend.
Serendipity, right?
Yeah.
God damn, man. This has been
thanks
too much.
Thanks for bringing that up, man.
Sorry, these things happen, mate. These things happen. I've had such a laugh, and we're gonna have to wrap it up now, so that we can so that we can actually get more into the next couple of episodes, because I think we could do a lot more on this, which would be really cool. There was one question that we needed to actually answer, which was in the comments section. I don't know if it's away, and it basically is, when is this going to be available again? Which in fact, I could probably answer this for you if you want. I know that you've blew in the face. So there's a pre-order that has been available to everyone, which is a pre-order. And pre, which J-Mac, tell us the definition of pre.
Pre, before it comes out.
Right, so it was available for pre-order, to which it sold out, and many people purchased this pre-order. And this means that if you buy it now, then you've secured your copy, and it will be delivered to you upon its production in when, J-Mac?
Yeah, when G-Mac?
When
J-Mac?
Mid-July.
In July.
July. Actually, I got there. It was July.
So for everybody that has pre-ordered it, you will have it in July. And anybody that hasn't, I don't know if I'm right in saying that maybe there will be another one at some point.
Yeah, I think because the demand of this one, I think we want to next year with the 30th anniversary. Is it 35th anniversary? 30th?
Yes. Yeah,
35th.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do an extended version, I think, with an extra chapter in it, and I think a new cover as well. So get Grant to another cover for us, and makes it a little bit more special as well. Obviously, in dedication to Joel Schumacher as well. So I think we're talking about that at the moment. Obviously, what I don't want to do is this is the last time we ever be released, and then it comes out next week again. I don't want to do that. It's like a closing down sale for a sofa company, isn't it? They're always closing down, But I think there's been a massive demand on this one, and it sold out within 32 hours. I think it sold out within. So obviously, there's still a demand for it. So we will look at it maybe next year.
Yeah, and another really cool thing about that is Paul has already agreed to come up here, which you should definitely come up with him. And I mean, the offer's there.
You don't really know. I'd come without Paul. All Paul did was write it. All the designs, me. Look at that beautiful design. I did all that.
It's really
I did it. That's who reads. People look at the pictures, don't they? So the layout's me. Don't bother with Paul.
Well, I mean, you can fight it among yourselves, but we can put a Lost Boys screening on, and you guys can bring these. And people could probably buy them there and have you guys sign them, and we can do a whole Q&A on stage. Guys, what was it like? What was it like, Paul taking all the credit for Gary's work? I'm joking, Paul.
No, that's true. And it irritates me. It really irritates me.
There'll be somebody there that goes, "What would I like working with Stallone?"
Oh yeah. I'll tell you what. On the next edition, I'm going to put on the top, Gary Smart presents Lost in the Shadows. 100%.
Oh, here we go. Any chance of a hardback version? I'm ready to pay big. How big we talking? Look at that. Look at that.
I mean, I don't think we've got any left, to be honest. All jokes aside, I think the hardback literally went through the roof, and then it went on eBay then for £500. People were paying for the hardback version when it was obviously being dotted around the internet last year. We won't go back to hardback, I think, because of the issues that we had with Lost Boys, because of the size of it. Unless you pack it in a box that big, stuffed in, wrapped in what's it called? That stuff now, bubble wrap and whatnot, and charging people 50 quid to post it. It's a risk always post internationally. Now we can do obviously UK market fine, but the hardback I think is probably, unless you find it on eBay now, it's gone probably. It's a shame. I like the hardback. Paul prefers the softbacks, but I like the hardbacks.
Yeah.
And when I go to my garage, I'll find you a copy of Trioxin. It's in there somewhere.
Oh, mate, I would love that.
There's definitely, and the Revenge of the Living Dead's definitely in there somewhere as well. So I'll go into the stock and I'll find it.
You know that someone's sitting here going like that. I don't actually have to wait on the hardback coming. What I need to do is locate where Gary lives and just rob his garage.
There's no Lost Boys in that garage. I know that 1,000,000%. I've been looking.
It's like, how can I get these?
COVID got hard, you know what I mean? So I was looking for them hardbacks.
COVID got hardback.
Yeah. I could have done with a few of them. I found out one copy of it, which is my own. No one's having that, and it's yeah.
And that's in the house that your garage is right next to, right?
No.
It's like, no.
It's at my grand's. It's at
my grand's. He doesn't really have one. He's just lying.
Yeah, she's dead. She's dead, so it's not hers. Don't worry about it. You didn't kill her, so don't worry about it. Or did you?
That you could tell in an episode of the Ditties. Oh man, well, I'm glad that everybody got that off their chest. So everybody that has pre-ordered one, July. So there's no need to send any emails requesting your book any sooner.
It might be before that. We've got them in stock now, but obviously it's a whole process we've got to do now, obviously, to really get them out, which is a bit of a pain in the backside. But so they'll probably start shipping from the week after next. So maybe the first week in July. I don't promise that, but it will be probably earlier than expected.
Well, you've said it now, and they can go back and hold
you. Please, if you live in America, if you live in America, please understand that when we ship to the UK, it tends to be the next day. America won't be the next day. People get so peed off. They do. They go, how come these British people have got there? Well, because they live in the UK. It's the next day delivery. It takes up to 28 days to deliver to the state, and people don't understand that. We're not holding them back. Go, oh, British people first. It doesn't work like that. It happens to be faster delivery.
Heather Dow says, I missed it again. Heather, man. Heather, Heather is the one that made this.
Well, thank you, Heather, for copyright infringement. And considering you're good at copyright infringement, why don't you just photocopy the book for her and send her a copy? That'd be easy, wouldn't it? PDF it to her.
This was all her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This was all her. What I'll do is she'll no doubt be there when Paul comes over. So
not only, Kevin, not only have you snapped her leg, you've also thrown her right under a fucking bus as well. It's lovely.
Can I ask you one quick question? Did Paul send you a copy of the book?
No.
Gary did. Gary sent it. So why do you want Paul at an event? Yeah.
Just because it's this bit here. Look.
I know, but I needs to go. He insisted on that.
I mean, he does take all the credit, right?
He does, yeah. See the picture? He's got a picture in the front and the back of the book.
Hold on, I'm just trying to find the bit that says Gary. Where is it? Where's Gary? So it's going to take me a while.
Next one's going to have a picture of my face next to David's at the front. Don't worry.
There's Neil.
Yeah, Neil's on there.
Neil.
See, I haven't got an ego. That's the thing. Like Paul, I don't need to have my ego massaged every single day over a book. You know how I know he's got no ego? Because he's not watching this now. I watch his one. You know what I mean?
Fucking hell.
He's at home counting the dollars, and from the books. What he's doing.
If he was on right now, he'd be going at you in the comment section. I imagine.
Exactly. He's a wimp. Don't worry about it.
Oh man, do you know what? Screw the cinema. We're going to rent a boxing ring.
I'd win. He's about 9 foot tall, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'll get that.
The bigger they are, that's it.
The dumber they are, so yeah.
I'm taller than J-Mac. Oh man, well, hey, I can't thank you enough for sending these. By the way, this is
actually
something that treasure. I mean, we just feel so lucky to even be holding one because we've seen so many Lost Boys fans that are like, where can I find one? So it's unbelievable. We've been sent really cool things throughout doing this podcast, but nothing as amazing as this would do. I mean, we've been sent some really good gear, but still we put this right at the top of that Mount Rushmore for sure.
Yeah.
I did something recently which I regretted, where I sent a nice package, a care package, when I call it, of the books and DVDs to a very famous director, and he didn't even say thank you. And then he complained to Paul. I won't mention the guy's name. We directed Shaun of the Dead, and he complained to he complained to Paul that I don't like Return of the Living Dead. Well, that's gratitude for you. That's why I said send the bloody book back. You could have had that book. Yeah.
Oh, mate. Right. Do you know what you should do? Just send me his email address.
I'll send you his home address. Don't worry.
So you got a garage?
Yeah. It'll be beneath it soon.
So Heather Dow says, Kev, please tell him you made me do that shirt.
And my issue only is, Heather, that you use the actual older logo as well, because we've got a newer version of a logo with Dr. Brunner on it, and you've used the one with Crane's face. So
I can elaborate on this. So this is how the conversation went. Heather, I would really love it if you could make me something with this on it. And I kind of come up with a wee diagram with this one on it, right?
Oh.
And then I sent her your new logo. And she goes, have you edited the logo? And I was like, no, why? I'm not that good. Fuck. She's like, because it's a different one. I was like, all right. I was like, we'll just go with the one that I sent. So she was going to do it with it. So that is my fault. She was going to do that.
That's
with
what you get when you break the law.
When I got this made, I was like, I actually wanted a Ditties t-shirt because I was like, that's the logo's cool and it's great, and I love to support something that I want someone to ask me what it is so I can tell them.
Yeah,
have that conversation. And I said, it'd be cool if I could have it for Sunday. So I was like, Heather, and bear in mind, Heather's at home with the broken leg. She managed to break her own leg, and she
broke herself.
You've heard this story.
So she actually went out to another place to get another printer because hers wasn't working, etc. So she done one of those.
Well, fair play, thank you.
She done one of those proper like.
It's cool. It really is cool seeing someone with it. I said our fan Laurie, she got all these kind of t-shirts and whatnot. She cosplays, but seeing somebody over here with a Ditty shirt is nice.
That's good. I love how you said our fan. We used to be like that. We used to be like that, eh? And it was Heather. Oh God! Oh man, I could laugh all night, but I'm gonna be sore. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys. We will have you back on again soon. And I know a lot of podcasters say that, but if you look through our episodes, we have recurring guests that definitely come on, so you can be assured of that.
Yeah, and by that time, I will have actually seen Dark Ditties. So
good.
Yes. We should get you back on with Neil as well and do a wee Dark Ditties. We could even do a watch along at some point, raise some money for something cool. The production of the reproduction of the hardback. Something. But it's been an absolute pleasure.
And thank you.
Pick your brain all night, and we'll pick your brain. So apologies in advance if we hit you with 300.
No, it's fine. No. Not sure at all. I enjoy doing that.
And we are here in Scotland, which is not so far away from you. So if you're ever in this area or you're ever coming up to here, we are the connections you need to make it happen quicker than you probably would be able to do yourself, right? just quicker. I don't know. It's like, see that cinema that you work with? Not anymore.
My cinema now.
Cult screening signs going up. But so we're gonna call the show there at 2 hours and 36 minutes, and it's only felt like an hour show. That's how you can tell you've absolutely had fun. So I'm going to just put their website up here. You can go to youtube.com/Dead Mouse Productions to see that's pretty much where I stole all your trailers. And and www.cultscreenings.co.uk, where you can essentially look at all the things you can't have because they're sold out. It's like, I went to the store and I was like, what can I get? Nothing.
That giant carrot we just hang around people. What you could have won.
But I imagine at some point soon there will be.
There will be.
Exactly. There may even be Dead Ditties t-shirt. I'll get
you got me thinking, can I manage to sell more than one? That's the thing. Maybe two. If he watches it.
I mean, I think we. Hey! Oh, look, there's Neil saying, "I'm better than Gary."
He should be in bed by now. His age.
But so cultscreenings.co.uk is where you can pretty much catch up with everything that you guys do. I think the scalpers are waiting for the Lost Boys book to be on sale again, and who knows, maybe there will be some merch for some of the cool stuff. Even if you just kind of gimmick infringing on like Fright Night and some of the stuff you have done, you might be able to. We tried it, didn't do it? Didn't work.
Well, we did the Peter Vincent figure, and we got away with it by calling it the host of a documentary. We got away with it, and it's one of those things where everybody wanted one, and when we had to get 3,000 of them made, and I still had 2,000 in the garage for about 3 years. But anyway, that's a different story. But now they've all gone. Coming soon. Now they've all gone. Everybody wants one. It's like, I sold 2,000 to a guy in America. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he did with them. But he had 2,000 Peter Vincent.
There you go. Heather says she'll make you a few if you want.
A few what?
Ditties.
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Brilliant. I'll take them.
3,000.
Free P&P postage and packaging. Yeah, so join us on Thursday where we will be reviewing movie. What movie are we reviewing, J-Mac?
Dark Ditties.
Fast 9, unfortunately.
Oh.
It's not. It's In the Heights.
Shit. Fast 9 is the following week. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. You can tell who runs this outfit, right?
Hey, I'm on vacation, man. I'm on vacation.
What? All year?
Yes.
I'm only kidding. But yeah, so we'll be back on Thursday doing our usual box office banter where we review new movies for Bathgate Cinema, and we will catch you guys soon. Make sure to go ahead and follow Cult Screenings, and you pretty much got a social media for every documentary that you've done, if I'm correct. I've seen a lot of them. That must be tough. That must be tough.
Yeah, it is. I've banned a lot of users over last year.
Brilliant. So thanks again, Gary, and we will see you on another episode.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
See you soon.